welcome to Randolph and Martin's Sports Talk on Sportanarium, Friday night, 5 o'clock. Our guest tonight is Nicola Hopewell, who headlined in a first ever all-female boxing evening a couple of weeks ago on a Saturday night. How's it going?
Yes, good, thank you. How are you?
Very good, very good. Have you come down from Cloud 9 yet?
Yeah, I think so.
So how did you find the whole experience before we go into like the actual fight and the build up and everything? What was your what's your take on the whole thing, because it's the biggest thing that you've done so far?
I loved it. I thought it was going to be like a lot of pressure, and I thought I was going to be a lot more nervous than what I was. But yeah, I just loved it. I loved the whole thing, the build up, the fight, even like the traveling there and back, like with the team and everything. Just loved the whole experience.
Because it's an experience. You know, it's not just turning up. You can turn up for a fight somewhere, but when it's it's televised. It's obviously every fight that you get is a progression, and the people that you're going to fight are better, and so it is, as you said, it's an experience. There's 5, 6, 7, 8 different factors, and probably 5 of those factors you've never had to experience before.
Yeah. And it all it's just one experience. Like the whole weekend was just a really good experience. Well, the whole week really.
What was the what was the build up like then? So how long was your camp? Was it your longest camp? Was it the before going into that, did you have to change opponents?
Yes, I did. My opponent changed on the fight week. I was supposed to box somebody, but she was stuck in France. She couldn't come over. So that, and also Tasha, who I ended up boxing, her opponent pulled out as well. So it was quite lucky that we both trained for the fights and we're both the same weight.
Right, but she was a southpaw, and she was very tall. The opponent that you were fighting, what was her attributes? Because obviously, if you were training for, orthodox, was it an orthodox opponent, and was she shorter, or what was the?
I think she was about the same height as Tasha. I know that she was taller than me, but she was orthodox as well, and I know that she had a lot more experience than me as well. She'd had 13 fights, I think, which was a lot more than me and a lot more than Tasha as well. So I knew that she was going to be a lot more experienced. I knew she was orthodox, but height-wise, I believe her and Tasha are about the same height. They're both going to be taller than me.
So you were obviously practicing the body shots then?
Yeah. Yeah, we kind of knew I had to put it body with him being so tall.
Yeah. Oh, that's fair enough. Was that like one of the most specific things that you were training for? Because obviously there was a fair bit of a height difference for as you said, the original one, and luckily the same. So your game plan didn't have to change a hell of a lot, obviously, apart from the southpaw.
No, not really, just the southpaw. But I'd already boxed Tasha before it was a rematch, so I kind of knew what to expect anyway. And weirdly, all my opponents being pro have been southpaw. I've not actually boxed an orthodox opponent yet, being professional, which is quite strange.
So what? So how long was your camp, and what were you training for specifically to improve on your last fight? What did you think that you needed to do to improve from the last time you fought?
So the camp, it was quite long. So originally it was supposed to be November. So as soon as we came out to September fight, we went straight into camp for November. But obviously it got moved from then. So all in all, we've not really been out the gym, but as the dates moved, we had a few days off in between. So it was quite a long camp, really. We just had breaks in between, just so we were ready for when the date came. And specifically from the last fight, I guess for me it was getting the rounds in, because my first fight stopped in the second round. Then my second fight stopped at the end of the first round. So then I wanted to get the rounds in. So I've been sparring more and making sure I can get through them 6 rounds. But then my third fight's now ended in the second round. But apart from that, I guess just mixing it up, head, body, not just constantly working on the body, even though we knew she was taller, but working head and body and my combinations, because like the change of opponent, I could have had a change of opponent and she could have been smaller than me, so I needed to adapt.
There was a lot of I thought have you been working on a lot of getting in and then getting out?
Yeah, and like footwork has been a big part of our camp as well, and switching in and out.
Yeah, I could see that you were, you were getting in, throwing off a few punches, and then getting out quickly.
Yeah, getting out before I could get caught. Yeah, that were one of the big ones we've been working on as well.
So what do you specifically work on then when you're doing that? What kind of drills do you have to do? Do you have like a ladder on the floor in the gym and do lots of footwork, speed work with your feet, or?
Yeah, we've got a ladder in the gym, and I do that probably about twice a week at the gym, but I've also bought one for home as well, and I use it as a warm-up before I do my runs. I think it's a good warm-up just to warm your legs up a little bit, but then it also helps with my boxing as well. And then we do like switch pad drills with Chris, so we'll do like a combination orthodox, but then we'll also learn it southpaw, and we'll just keep repeating it until we've got it, and just switching in and out sort of thing. And then we also like do like technical sparring, so the combinations that we learn, we'll body spar it, but then we'll also do it southpaw as well, so we're able to put it in an actual drill and not just on the pads.
Well, you need to build up both sides anyway. If you're doing the same thing, orthodox all the time, you're going to be very lopsided at the end of the day. So with the obviously headlining, the build up on the night, obviously you've travelled down, and which is a new experience. And did you have to stay in a hotel overnight? And and then what was your nutrition like a few days before? What did you have to? What were you concentrating on there with for your stamina and carbing up? What were you told to do with that?
Well, my weight were quite good actually. The Monday of fight week, I was actually at the bottom end of the weight category, which was quite good. So that week I was able to just eat. I were eating good and I were eating clean. So I was having like chicken, salad, rice, pasta. I was still eating like fruit and vegetables, everything like that. So I had a pretty balanced diet really. And then on the fight, I weighed in like dead in the middle of the weight category, and I've not starved myself. I've not really cut much food out. So I feel like I maintained my weight pretty good, where I weren't drained. And I weren't dehydrated when it comes to the fight.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Did you have any sleepless nights before the event? How did you sleep on the night before the day?
I slept all right actually, but I think I had a good fight week because I spent it with my friend Ebony Bridges.
Yeah.
So I had quite a good fight like build up. To be honest, best one I've had. So we were like out and about that week. And actually she helped with my food, like what I was eating that week as well, with the chicken, the rice, the salads and everything like that, and doing like a bit of a meal prep for when we were out and about and stuff. But like I was buzzing really. I weren't that nervous. I was more excited, if that makes sense. I was nervous on the day, like I always am on fight day, but I was just excited. I'm really excited for the actual fight and get in the ring, but also like to headline it as well. It was just like a big thing for me. So
when you got there on the day, then when you got to the actual place, obviously the nerves will, they start kicking in then, because you know that it's come in, and with the when you're 3 fights to go, 2 fights to go, how long were you in the did you get to prepare? So when you go into the actual the changing room and you're gloving up and everything, were you in there half an hour before or an hour, or what was the score?
Well, we had 3 girls on altogether. At the beginning, we all kind of stretched off and did a bit of shadow boxing right at the beginning. And then I went in when the first girl went on from our club. I went in the corner to help Chris while the other one finished warming up, and then we kind of swapped over. And then Chris had Holly in the ring, and then there was a gap where I was going to do my pads, and then I was on. But the fight that was on in the middle only lasted 1 round. So I had like warmed myself up as much as I could while Holly was on, and then I think I only did 2-3 rounds of pads, and then because the fight ended so quickly, I was then in the ring. So it was kind of a good job we'd warmed up together at the beginning, then I'd stayed warm, and then I just did the I think 2 or 3 rounds of pads before I actually went on. But yeah, about half an hour that I was shadow boxing and doing my footwork drills and everything like that.
Oh, that's not so bad then. That's not so bad.
It weren't so bad now.
And obviously under lights, there was no, not much of a crowd there. Do you think it would have been, you would have been a lot more nervous if there'd been, what kind of size place was it? How many would have been in there if it was full?
There wouldn't have been that many in there. There was only where the ring was, and then there was probably the same size, like at the back of that, where all the filming and the commentators and everything was. So it wasn't a massive room.
Because it looked quite big. Because when Lakey was interviewing, the camera was quite far away from him, and it looked like it was quite a sizable place.
Yeah, I think if you put that area that you saw just doubled that, then that would probably be the size of the room. But if we take into consideration probably my first fight where I fought at Barrow, that was like an arena sort of.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so that were quite big. So I think I've been quite fortunate that I've had an experience where I've had the crowd, and then I've had the experience where it's been behind closed doors, and I know what to expect from both of them.
So what's next then? Is it the Brighton one?
I think I've got a few before that.
Okay.
My next one should be on the 10th of July in Colchester.
Okay.
And there should be fans for that one, fingers crossed. And
who's that against? Do you know yet, or?
I'm not 100% sure, but I think they're trying to get the girl that I should have boxed on the show the other week.
When you say she was stuck in France, is she from the UK?
I believe she's from Derby. I've read that she's from Derby, but I'm not sure if she was in France with work or something like that. And with quarantine when she came back, it just weren't going to work.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
So fair enough.
And is that just like will that be an easiest opponent, or are you looking at is that just a stepping stone for the Brighton one? Because the Brighton one's in September, isn't it?
That's in September, yeah. I'm not matched up for that, so I don't know who I'm boxing on the Brighton one. But I feel like if we do get me Juliet, which is the girl I should have boxed the other week, I feel like that's a step up because she's had a lot more fights than me.
Yes,
I think it'd be good experience and good for me to get the rounds in as well.
Yeah. Any questions, Mod? You're there with your fresh trim as well, and you've had your beard shaved.
Well, thank you. No, I haven't had a fresh trim actually. Just been a bit better with me comb in the last couple of weeks.
You've washed it, yeah?
I think I've moved in with Ella properly now. She's making me sort of groom a bit better. So,
all right, okay.
I'm part of the patriarchy and what I've got to. Nicola, I was just wondering. You seem very powerful for the weight class. You're 3-0 at the minute. Is it 1 first round stoppage and 2 in the second round now?
Yeah, that's right.
Fantastic. Do you see yourself moving up in the future?
Up in weight class?
Up in weight, yep.
My coach has told all of us really, because the pool's not that big for girls, if we do need to move up or move down, so because I'm super fly at the minute, at a push I could make fly, but it's probably easier for me to go up to bantam. I have said I'll do it because there's not that much difference in it anyway.
Oh, yeah, that's I was going to say as well, in terms of your style, from what I've seen of you, you're very much on the front foot. You go in and you attack. Yeah. For anyone listening out there, how would you sort of sum up your style? Is there anyone you think you could compare it to, or?
I'm not sure really. I'd probably sum it up to, I use my feet quite a lot just to get in and out, which we've already said. But I think I never used to be like that. I've always been a front foot boxer, and as an amateur, I was always a head hunter. I used to go for the head all the time. So now I feel like I've improved my style more to what it was. And I can go in there now, head, body, throw my combinations and get out now, where I think in the amateurs, I used to go in and stay in and didn't know when to come out, and I got a little bit greedy and got caught. when I shouldn't have done. So I feel like I've improved my style a little bit there.
Yeah, I guess that comes with the more fights you have as well. You know, you improve your boxing IQ.
Well.
And yeah, exactly. You get used to facing different styles of fighter as well. Final question I've really got, fighting in front of a crowd, not fighting in front of a crowd. What are the main differences for you? Is there one you prefer? So do you prefer the crowd riling you up and getting behind you, or do you prefer to go into a little bit calmer and focus where you can hear your coach?
Do you know what? I don't mind. I do like them both. But I think, because like with it being behind closed doors, I think we've been lucky to be able to go out and box, because there's not a lot of boxers being able to like get out there and box. So I'd rather do the behind closed doors at the minute and have no crowd and still box, and like family and friends at home can watch it. But then I also love the crowd being there, and I love my family, friends, supporters being there and hearing them as well. Just hearing them cheering you on. And but yeah, a good point about the coach, hearing the coach, because when it's behind closed doors, you can hear everything. You can hear commentating it. You can hear your coach in the corner. You can also hear what their coach is like telling them. So yeah, both have got their advantages.
Heard that body shot land the other night as well. Made me maybe liver cringe a little bit here in that one.
You could hear that, couldn't you, on the video?
You know, that's one thing I think I've liked about watching sort of boxing MMA behind closed doors. You can just hear every shot land, so the leg kicks, the punches. It's just, you know, it's nice to hear fans on that. It just gives it another dimension, I think. I was going to say, you watching Billy Joe Saunders and Canelo at the weekend? If he shows up, I should say, maybe.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch it. Yeah, I'm not sure if I'll. Is it like 1 o'clock in the morning or something?
Something like that, yeah. I don't know if Ella will let me. I don't know if Ella will let me stay up for that, so I might.
It'll be on about 4. It'll be on about. It's in.
Main card will start about 1. Do you reckon? Maybe.
It's in America, isn't it? So they won't be on till about 4 a.m. I think it's.
I thought I'd seen 1 o'clock somewhere. That might be the undercard then. Yeah, I'll watch it the next day. I won't be up at 4 o'clock.
It'll start about 1. Yeah, on the point of fighting in front of a crowd, the more fights you have, and I say it's probably the same for 99% of people. You've got to have a crowd.
Yeah.
You know, nobody's going to prefer. You know, if you go onto a football pitch, or a rugby pitch or a squash court, and there's nobody watching, it's like a training fight. It's like a training game. You know, it's the buzz. If you go on stage with a band, whatever you do, not having a crowd there, it's just like practice.
I do feel like you get a little bit of a buzz from it, from the crowd being there, because it has been said to me actually, because when I don't know if you've noticed looking at my pictures and stuff, but usually when I win, I usually like do like a little jump, and all my pictures are like with me like up in the air. But my last 2 where they've been behind closed doors, I haven't done it, and people have been asking why, and I think it is the buzz of the crowd.
Yeah,
because you've not got it. But that is one thing that's being picked up. Like, you're known for your signature jump, but my last 2 fights I've not done it, even though I've won. And I do think it is partly because the crowd's not there and you haven't got that buzz in, just cheering you on.
But you're not when you're in the first one. You're not jumping for yourself. You're jumping as if to the crowd.
Whereas you're to see
if there's no crowd there, you're going to jump up in the air. You're going to come down and you're going to feel like a fool, aren't you? Because it's like,
exactly.
Why have I just done that?
Yeah, that is it. That is it.
But yeah, it's the same with all sports. I think people have. We can come on to football in a bit. But I know that with certain football teams, Liverpool is a perfect example. The Anfield crowd is having an extra man on the pitch, and because they haven't had that, obviously they haven't had people like Van Dijk and their injury stuff that they keep harping on about. But you lose your crowd, you're going onto a pitch. You're a performer.
Yeah.
Some boxers or some footballers, they'll do their hair. Gavin Henson, the Welsh guy, used to shave his bloody legs to go on the rugby pitch. So you're there to perform. Yeah. Whereas if there's nobody to perform, obviously it's a bit different because it was your first time on TV. But if it had been 10 fights down the line and you'd been on TV 7 times, you wouldn't have even had that buzz.
Yeah, it'd been a lot different.
It would have been different. And if you're if you did go a few more rounds and you're in round 5 and it was very close, and we can talk about the Bridges fight or the Jonas fight in a minute, but if the Jonas fight, because I know obviously Bridges has got a lot of British followers, Jonas obviously she's British, they were both level with 2 rounds to go. And if the crowd had been there for Jonas and if the crowd had been there for Bridges, because I know a lot of people diplomatically put are more for Bridges than they were for Courtney, even though she was British, then you've got that extra thing, and that could have been the difference between them winning the last 2 rounds and losing the last 2 rounds.
Definitely, I agree with that, because the crowd does give you that extra push, and I feel like if that was me, if I was in that position and I was level going into the last 2 rounds, and you can just hear the crowd behind you and supporting you, it just gives you that little bit of an extra push and that bit of extra drive.
100%. It's, I say, keep harping on about it. It's the same in all sports. I've watched, you watch the football, even with the fake crowd. When they're cheering when somebody has scored. It's fake, and the same in the rugby. And it does. I think it's probably different in the rugby. You're watching the Wales-England game. It's great because you can hear the tackles coming in, and it's like, oh Jesus, that was a hell of a tackle. But the ball is thrown out, and it just, you're watching it and it looks like a training game. Even after 9 months of watching rugby or football with no crowd, you'd think you get used to it. But the Champions League game last night, and you're sitting there, and Man City scored those 2 goals last night, and you're sitting there thinking, like you've just said, they're not jumping up in the air to the crowd.
Yeah, because
they're just congratulating each other, maybe doing the elbow, or they can hug each other because they're in a bubble. But there's no screaming, shouting, running to the touchline, taking his shirt off and getting yellow carded. There's none of that.
Yeah, because there's no buzz of the crowd there, is there? So it's like you said, if you if I were to jump up to say I'd won, who am I jumping to? I just feel a bit silly.
Exactly. So how do you find? I know that I've seen a couple of your notes and stuff with the afterwards. When you had your interview, you don't like being interviewed with, or not that you don't like it. You're getting more comfortable with it now. But it was a bit weird anyway, because obviously you've got to keep your distance, and Lakey was there with his microphone holding it up. And he actually said, because we had a bit some banter and messages afterwards, and he was nervous because he's never commentated before, for live. He's got a good voice for commentating, but he said he was nervous doing it. How do you feel you're going on that side of things?
I thought Lakey were really good at the commentating, and I do feel like the interview I did with Lakey after my 3rd fight was a lot better than the one I did after my 2nd fight. Okay. And I knew like the same amount of people was watching, because it were on Fight TV again. Yeah. But I just feel like I'm just getting a little bit better now, and like the more of these sort of things I do, the better I'm getting, and the better I'm getting at talking, and I'm not saying or stuttering as much as what I used to.
No, it sounded fine. I see it all comes with experience,
Yeah, it's like anything, isn't it? The more you do it, the better you get.
Yeah. I know that. He was. I think with the obviously you were fighting, so you didn't hear the commentary. I know whether you've heard it back, but it was his first. It was his first one. But there was a lot of
Yeah, I heard it actually. Yeah, now you've mentioned it.
That's the thing. I think that you've got to try and. Unless you're what is it the UFC? You watch the UFC, didn't you, Mark? Is it the UFC?
Yeah,
they do all that kind of stuff, don't they? You don't hear it from the Sky commentators when they're watching, when you're watching the boxing, but the UFC, they go a bit crazy, don't they?
A bit more of an Americanized thing, I think. The problem with the UFC, they have one sort of guy, John Anik, usually, who does sort of the main facts and play-by-play, I believe they call it. And then you have sort of 2 color commentators who you might have one who's more of a striking type person, and then one who's more of an expert on wrestling or jiu-jitsu. And most of the time, if it's Joe Rogan and Daniel Cormier, the likes of them, they're just, every time a big body shot lands, or Joe Rogan will be saying, that guillotine's in really tight and his head will pop straight out. And yeah, I think like with anything, this you just learn it better as you do it more and it comes. But I think Lakey, to be fair, he did very well, and the difference as well, sort of commentating in a closed arena, sort of where you've got no fans and that, you've got the chance of the fighters hearing what you say as well. So if you do have any cock-ups, they might have a word with you afterwards as well. You might go away with it if there's crowd noise to let out. But
he said
I
that,
thought
to be fair. He said that. Could you hear it? Because I think they've got to be loud enough to hear on the microphone, and they've got to be close enough to see the action. So could you hear? Obviously, you're zoned in on the fight, but could you hear anything?
I couldn't as much when Lakey did it, and I was focused and everything. But the one in September that I did, I could hear everything that the guy was saying. But I did on this one, I couldn't hear as much what Lakey was saying, which I think it was a little bit better because I didn't know what he was saying.
Was he louder than the other guy, the one in September? Was he a lot louder, or was he closer, or?
The one in September spoke a lot louder. I don't think he was any closer though. I think he just spoke louder to the mic.
All right, okay. So, but on the whole, then, really enjoyed it.
Yeah, really enjoyed it.
Oh, brilliant. So you're looking forward to the one in July. So, in July, it's in, you say, Colchester?
It's in Colchester, yeah.
So how far have you got to go for that?
I think it's about 3 hours. It's not as far as Aberdeen. It took us about 7 hours to get to Aberdeen. I think it's only about 3 hours.
Yeah, it's a long way. I know that in the September one, I'm gutted I can't come to Brighton because I'll be in Scotland. Ironically, yeah, I got 2 weeks up there, all the way up the top. I think there's a 500-mile road that goes all the way around the top of Scotland, that takes like Loch Lomond and I'll pop into St Andrews for the golf and have a look all around there. But so I'm gutted I can't come to that. Right, if we look at the so you got Taylor and Jonas last week. One thing I was going to pick up on when you're saying about Mark, you said about learning from experience. But I say you've only had what do you think the difference is then at the moment between you being a pro and being an amateur? What you've improved, but how many hours extra can you do per week? Obviously, it's more concentrated, but what would be your difference so far between amateur and pro?
I think you have to train a lot more. That you've got more rounds to do. And I do when I'm in camp, I'll do like 2 training sessions a day. Whereas amateur, I just used to do 1. And I probably do more days, probably 6 days a week when I'm in camp and 1 rest day. Where amateur, I probably used to do 5 days with the weekend off. But now weekend for us in the pro game is Saturdays is sparring. So you train all week and then you spar on the Saturday. You have your Sunday rest and then you're back in the gym on Monday. And I think just technique wise, just like less of that amateur sort of style and like getting your combinations in better. I know probably a lot of good amateurs do work on the combinations, but I feel for me, mine's got better as I've turned pro and I've been working on specific things.
So how does it work? How does it work with work then? As in, when you were amateur, you're working, but as a pro, do you have to work the same amount of hours as in work?
Yeah. So when I was an amateur, I used to just go to work, come home. I probably have an hour at home. Then I go to the gym. Probably be at the gym probably an hour, hour and a half tops. But now, if I'm in camp, I'm quite lucky for the last few months because I've been working from home. So I've been like doing my runs and stuff at lunchtime, then gym at night time. But if I'm actually in work, I've got to get up at like 6 o'clock, do my run, then go to work for 8 o'clock. Then I don't finish until 4:30. Got to be at the gym for 5:30, and then I'm at the gym then till 7:30. So it's quite a full day when I'm in work.
Yeah, it's tough, and
it's tough because like I'm still working a full-time job. I'm still working 39 hours a week, and I do 8 till 4:30 every day.
Yeah, it's tough, because I don't care what anybody says. If you've done your stuff in the morning, you've done your job in the day. Those 2 hours in the night, by the time you get to Thursday, Friday, you know, your fuel levels, you know, it's just going to decline. So your quality work, you know, you're looking at Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and gradually over the week, you know, the Thursday, Friday. So, you know, you say you spar, so you only spar on a Saturday. So
we usually do a spar on a Saturday. We do odd bits in the week as well, but the majority of it is on a Saturday, And obviously by then I've worked a full week. I've been at the gym every day. I've been up early every morning, and then I've got sparring on Saturday. So yeah, it's pretty full on, and I just look at it as if I can do all that all week and then still spar good on a Saturday when I'm like tired and I've had a full week, then if I can still spar good on a Saturday, then it's all good.
So on during the week, then you say you're doing your gym work in the week. You know, your 2 hours. If you're not doing any sparring, so what is it? Bag work, technique, skipping, fitness, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So there's strength and conditioning. There's pad work to do, bag work to do. We do like intensity circuits, skipping, everything like that. Technique wise, so the different bags, so like the slip bag for head movement, working on that. The speed ball, we started working on that. So yeah, there's so much to pack into the week. And also, like I said, we do spar on Saturdays, but depending when we can get sparring partners in the gym, we can have a night where like a Tuesday night could be sparring, but the majority of it is on a Saturday.
Okay. And then the other thing that I was pick up on what you said, Mart, was it comes with experience regarding going in, hitting a few punches, getting back out without being caught. It should come with experience, but if you look at some fighters, and I was watching yours, and it's there. And you look at somebody like the self-proclaimed best fighter ever, Mayweather. If you watch him, he's in, he doesn't get hit, and he's out. Same as Canelo now. You look at his head movement, and it's all he could miss 5 or 6 punches, make the guy look stupid, and then catch him with 2, and then he's gone. And I did see that you were in 2 or 3 punches, bang, 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 and then you were gone before the person knew what was going on, and that was happening. And that's only after 2 or 3 fights. You look at some of the other fights, and Taylor was doing it quite a bit in the first half. She's experienced. She's had lots of fights. She's world champion, fought everywhere in front of thousands. But then when you look at the Courtney Bridges fight, there was hardly any of it.
Yeah, I think it's the style of the fighter, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think some like to stand there and trade punches, where I like to get in and get out.
I think you've got to get to the next level, you've got to have that in your armory, because at some stage, it doesn't matter how good you are. You look at somebody like Chris Eubank Jr., he loves to trade, and there's been people in the past who love to trade. But when you take the best of the best in any weight, you look at Tyson Fury, doesn't like to trade, he's in and out, he's right up there. We've mentioned Mayweather, you mentioned Canelo. All of the Joe Calzaghe, the fellow Welshman, would punch the head off people, and then he was gone.
Yeah.
Any of these ones who like to mix it, at some point in their 20-25 fight unbeaten career, they're going to get tagged. And you can be, oh yeah, it was a great fight. I say the Bridges fight, the Courtney fight was a great fight. So was the Jonas Taylor fight. But to be victorious, you can't just keep trading. You look at the Ball fight with Courtney. For me, I've seen lots of different people's opinions, but for me, Ball boxed her head off. She was rangy. Obviously, she's taller. She's got a better jab, but she stuck to what she wanted to do, and she boxed her head off, and then got out and didn't get caught. And I just feel that's, it's tried and tested. From back as far as people like Muhammad Ali. If the greatest ever boxer, or last 100 years, the greatest ever sportsman didn't trade, just pretended to against like Foreman just to knacker your opponent out, then it's tried and tested, and you can, if you don't get hit, you're not going to lose.
Yeah. It's like one of those things, isn't it, where you need a little bit of everything in your toolbox. So it don't matter. Like if you put in that situation where you need to stand and trade, you can stand and trade with someone, but then get out at the same time. Like do your thing, throw your punches, but then get out without they throw back at you, sort of thing. You need it. I feel like you need it all, don't you?
I think obviously the Courtney fight, I thought obviously they've only had a few fights, even though it's a world title fight. Bridges has only had 4, 5, 6 fights. So like I watched it back a second time, and every round for the first 10 seconds, it was loads of head movement, but then after 10 seconds, it's like red rag to the bull, and all those things go out the window. And I know it's down to experience, but when you're fighting for a world title, you've got to. It's all about concentration. Stick into your game plan, and if your game plan is, get your head, you could tell that it was the two of them. They were built the same. They were the same size, pretty much the same ability. I thought Courtney was a bit more in and out, whereas I think Bridges, it was level with 2 rounds to go, in my opinion. Obviously it was the class of heads, which was unlucky, so she couldn't see out of the eye properly.
Couldn't see out that eye for the last 2 rounds, could she?
No. So it was unfortunate, but I think with experience, another 4 or 5 fights, she could have held a bit more. Very successful on the inside, loads of uppercuts, which she was catching her with. But then
really good with her uppercuts, inside work.
But coming in a little bit, I think every time she was coming in and punching, as opposed to feinting. And like what say Fury does, feints loads. There was no feinting. It was all down to experience, and it was just unfortunate. What did she think of the situation? How did she enjoy the experience?
She enjoyed it. Yeah, she really enjoyed it. I think that head clash did her. If it weren't for that head clash, I think she could have took them two rounds at the end, but it was just unfortunate, weren't it? It was halfway through the fight, and then I think she said 7 and 8. She could only see a little bit, and then rounds 9 and 10, she couldn't see anything. So it was just
you could see it was gone by then.
You could see it was short, but I think the whole experience and everything, even though she didn't win it, I think she feels like, and I think so as well, she gave a good performance on the night, and everybody loved the fight. Everyone wants to see it again. And I think she's come out there a winner as well, in the fact of like the fans and everyone who's behind her, and everyone wants to see it again. So fingers crossed, like something like that will come up for her again, and hopefully the rematch with Shannon.
Well, nobody really knew how good she was, because you can build up your these days you can build your social media profile, and when you're the other side of the world, you've kind of got to do that. It's not about your boxing ability. So for her to put herself in that situation, and for a world title, and then as I say, it was for a couple of the I can't remember their names, but there was this guy commentator who was just giving his scoring. I think he was dreadful.
And I think the commentating as well on that fight, they didn't really acknowledge Ebony at all for the first few rounds, and you could see that she was catching the shots, she was throwing shots, she was catching them on her elbows and her hands and blocking the punches. If we're getting like no praise or anything for it, we're just all one-sided towards Shannon, and you were watching it and you were like, well, what, she's just blocked that.
No, 100%, and it showed on a couple of the scorecards saying, it's 5-2, and I'm like, where'd you get 5 rounds from? How as you said, yes, she was throwing loads of punches, and I think in the first 4 or 5 rounds, Courtney was throwing some big punches, and she was missing a lot.
She weren't landing them. She like Ebony either like missing them, or she was actually like catching them and throwing back. So she was throwing the punches, and she looked busy, but they weren't landing.
No,
but they must have been scoring them, which.
Well, they were scoring them, but obviously the scorecards, the judges weren't. We don't know what that would have been. But it was 4-4 coming into the last 2, and it could have gone either way. I did think she ran out of speed a little bit in the last 2, because she was getting caught with the right, because she was
getting caught because it was
left.
It was her left eye. Yeah, she was getting caught because she couldn't see the right hand.
Yeah. Exactly. So yeah, it was obviously disappointing for her, but yeah, being in the match room, scenario, with all the weigh in and everything, because a guy I know from Carmarthen, he was in the who was he in the undercard for? I interviewed him a few months back. Angelo Dragoni, he was fighting on the undercard for a high thing like a Chisora fight. He was on, and same thing. He's fought for a Welsh title 2, 3, 4 times, but moving into being in quarantine in a hotel, and Eddie Hearn is there and all the top people. You're on a different level then, and once you've done it once, you're not going to want to step back down.
You're not. But I think being in that bubble as well, I think Ebony loved being in that bubble. That was just her thing. And I think she like all the like the face off and everything like that, and all the media stuff they did. I just think that she got a good point across and about female boxing, and got a lot of fans following her for it, and a lot of people tuning into that fight. And because they tuned into that fight, they'll tune into a lot more female fights, won't they?
Well, especially after it being such a good fight. And then 2 weeks later, you've got the Taylor Jonas fight, which is pretty much a carbon copy. It was exactly the same. You've got two women, and they're trading punches. I had to be honest, I hadn't seen a lot of Jonas. I knew she fought Taylor in the Olympics, and unfortunately Taylor was the only person that she didn't want to fight, and they ended up fighting in the first round. Amateur, totally different to professional. It's all about getting as many punches in a couple of rounds as you can and scoring, whereas this is more of a chess match now. But again, it was chess match was out of the window, and it was all hell for leather. And I again, same kind of thing. I thought it was even with 2 rounds to go. What were your thoughts on it? What were your thoughts on it?
I thought it was a close fight, I did, and I do think that Jonas caught Taylor with some punches, and you could tell that they'd actually hurt her. Where I don't think Jonas was hurt by any. Well, she didn't show it. I didn't think she showed it that she got hurt by anything that Katie had thrown, and I thought it was pretty even. And I thought Jonas did a really good job on that fight, to be honest. And it were close. She could have been a world champion that night.
Yeah, down to the last 2 rounds. I think it was. You can say experience, but I think first 8 rounds very, very close. Jonas definitely was the bigger puncher because she did, buckle her knees once. But it was, for me, the only 2 reasons. The last 2 rounds, Taylor won.
She did. I think she knew she had to win him, didn't she?
Yeah, but you would have thought Jonas would have been the same.
Yeah.
So it's 50-50. I just think, being a world champion, and you've either got it or you haven't. To be the best of the best. It comes down, they always say, championship rounds. And if you're in the championship rounds and you're the champion for a reason. You know what you've got to do. And she came out, and the volume of punches there were a lot more punches in the fight in general. But Jonas's punches seemed to be more scoring.
I agree.
But when it came to the last 2, she clearly won the last 2, and I thought, she's won it by 2 rounds, which is what the judges said. But again, it was another great advert for women's boxing.
Yeah, definitely, I agree.
What Martin said earlier on about moving up a weight, if you're comfortable, like what you've just said there, you would have to, the bottom end, you've eaten decently all week, you've got the fight day, and you're pretty much bang in the middle. So when what's the limit?
The limit for me is between 51.1 and 51.2 and 52.1. That's my super fly weight.
So you've got to be somewhere in between that.
Yeah, so it's there's not a lot of room in it. Not really.
1 pound.
The kilo in it.
So 51 kilos and 52 kilos, pretty much. So 2.2 pounds.
Yeah.
So then, if you're below, what's the next level below that?
Below is flyweight. I think that's 50 to 51, something like that.
So again, only 1 kilo, and then because in the men's pro, it's roughly £7. So you're talking 154 for middle. sorry, 160 for middle, 154 for welter, 168 for super middle.
I think the gaps get bigger as the weights get higher. I think.
Well, it would have to, wouldn't it? Because otherwise, you have heavyweights fighting at 60 kilos.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's mad, isn't it? So, because I was just thinking that if there was a £7 and you were bang, say, in the middle, then there'd be you wouldn't want to put on 4. You could put on £3 to get to your limit, and then comfortably stay there. But yeah, if it's only like
there's not a lot in it. And then I think the one above that, I think bantam, I think you can go up to like 53.5, something like that.
All right, okay. So
there's not a massive difference.
So when you're so obviously if you're 51.9 or something, so you're bang in the middle of those two weights.
Mm-hmm.
When you're not in camp and you're training, where are you on the weight?
I'm probably about 53. Probably walk around about 53. Out of camp.
And where would that be? What level would that be?
That'd be
bottom end of bantam.
That would be bottom end of bantam weight, yeah.
But then when you're training, you're just naturally losing that kilo.
Just naturally. So out of camp I'll probably walk around at 53. But then as soon as I start training more, doing my morning runs and training more at night time, and then obviously clean eating as well, I just can balance it better. I can balance it and it just comes off me, and I just need to maintain it then.
So when you first come into camp then and you're at 53, do you feel more powerful? Because you're 2 kilograms heavier? Probably
not a great deal, no.
So really you want to stay where you are for as long as you are then, don't you?
Yeah. Probably I think if you were to move up a little bit, I'd probably have to put a little bit more muscle on, probably work on that. But I won't say I feel more powerful. I'd probably just feel the same.
So with the weights then, do you not do much weights at the moment for your power? What would you do for power work then?
We do like strength and conditioning. We do like weight bar exercises, kettlebell exercises, and stuff like that. But I don't do a lot of it. I don't like do it every day. We do it probably twice a week.
And is that so? Do you go for like lightish weights and lots of reps for endurance, or do you go for more heavier weights and less reps for power?
We mix it up. We do both. So on my weight bar. So we each have a weight bar that we do, and it has a certain weight on it, and we do a certain amount of reps. And my weight bar is heavier than the other girls for when I do my weight bar, even though they're heavier than what I am. So I do, I think it's 24 kilos I do, and then I do 8. Like we have so many exercises, then I do 8 reps of each exercise, and I think they have 22. Kilos, and then they do 8 reps as well, so I have more weight on mine, which is good for my power.
Well, yeah, so if that's good for your strength, what are you doing for on the endurance side then, for like more reps? What do you do there? Do you do drop sets with dropping the weight down, or
we drop the weight? We drop the weight, so that's like a weight bar exercise that we do. But then we also, Chris has got like the different bar weights as well that are all different weights, so it's just like I can explain. They're like just plain black bars, but then they go up in weight. I think they start at about 5 kilos and go up to about 20.
I know the bars you're on. They're fixed, aren't they?
Yeah, they're fixed. Yeah. So depending what we're doing and what we're working on, it'll say like, oh, Nicola, you get the 10 kg bar and do 20 fast reps or something like that. So Chris kind of he works out what we're doing per week and what weight we're doing per week.
Okay, fair enough. So with on the just changing it slightly, did you see the Chisora Parker fight after the Taylor fight?
Yes, I did. Yeah, I didn't watch all of it. I started watching it and then I went to bed.
As you say, the amount of hours that you do, you must have fallen asleep.
I wait. That's why I started watching it, and I was like, oh no, I can't go with.
Did you see that one, Mark? What did you think of that?
I did. Yeah, I managed to catch it. Oh man, I just feel so sorry for Derek Chisora. I feel like he's so unlucky so much at the time with some of the results he got. Was it the first? I think if they had VAR in boxing, they might have ruled that knockdown as not a knockdown, maybe. But was it the first 7 or 8 seconds, something daft like that?
I did see that. I thought knockdown.
To be fair, he caught him it's still it's a knockdown. He hit him on the top of the head. You know, whether he knocked him off balance, he went down, so it's a knockdown. His knee hit the floor, so you know it's a knockdown.
I thought, is it Andy Lee that Parker's been working with recently?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I think he's I think he did really well to come back and win that one, though, I have to say. But yeah, who would you say is next for Parker after that one, do you reckon?
Well, I thought
Andy Ruiz was fighting the same night as well, wasn't he? Was it Chris Arreola?
Well, I saw that one as on repeat the next day. But yeah, you know the Chisora fight. Yeah, you can say Chisora's unlucky, but yeah, at the end of the day, you make your own luck.
Yep.
You know, you're fighting in the UK against a foreigner. You know, so his what was it? You know, the being a bit of a baby coming in saying, oh, you know, it's a toss coin. I want to come in second. You know, I think you got to grow up a bit. You know, it's like this Saunders thing with the ring. We can talk about that in a second. It's all, you know, I know there's a bit of acting going on and you're trying to do stuff to build your persona, but he's done that over the years by breaking tables and throwing drinks and stuff like that. But for me, you're fighting in the UK and you're saying, oh, you know, I can't leave it go to the judges. Well, so you've basically got a defeatist attitude before you even start. You've got to come in there thinking, you know, they're the same, you know, they're pretty much the same size. Chisora, I've seen footage when he was an amateur. My friend Kev beat him as an amateur. We fight Wales against England. Kev was Welsh heavyweight champion, and Chisora was, I presume, the English heavyweight. And he literally did exactly the same thing. Kev's a boxer, like a stand-up heavyweight, whereas Chisora, he's like a bulldog, isn't he? He comes in, he's like he did with Chisora, comes in, massive punches. You can see them. You know, you could write him a postcard saying this is coming. So if you're a boxer, you can get out of the way. And I feel that's kind of been Chisora's career. Very good, and he's won some cracking fights. He beat Takam, which for me was an upset because Takam did well against AJ. But for me, I don't know. I like the guy, but when it comes to that level, everyone's got levels in sport.
Yeah.
And I think his level is the bridesmaid and never the bride. If you get my meaning.
Yeah,
I think it's I think it's what you guys touched on before, you know, sort of having those different styles and being able to switch it up. He is very much sort of head down brawler, sort of wading in there, looping punches in. When he's stepped up against sort of better opposition that can sort of box from the outside a bit or behind the jab, use their movement to get, because you've got big looping punches coming around. I'm not a boxer myself, but I imagine if they're quite telegraphed, they're quite easy to get out of the way of. So yeah, always the bridesmaid, never the bride. But you know, he's had some handsome paydays from it, and he does love kicking off before a fight as well, doesn't he? It seems like what's Derek going to do this time, that sort of thing. So that always keeps it interesting, I have to say. Probably helps the pay-per-view numbers a little bit.
It must do, because he's a decent guy, you know, like after the fight, you know, he goes around the change rooms, he gives them all a burger. And he did the same with us, you know, us probably 3 stone lighter than him coming into the fight, you know, but he just boxed him. And Chisora, again, he fought well, but it's all down to the levels. And, you know, he's had a good career. Well, Parker, I think he's mandatory now for, if he's not mandatory, he's, you know, they've won one of these, you know, whatever it is, WBC, Intercontinental, they know the next step. They've got a belt there now. So, but he's the same. He's probably a level slightly above Chisora, but I can't see him, unless Andy Ruiz wins the world title again. They might fight each other because he beat Ruiz. But did you see the Ruiz fight on, catch up? You haven't?
No, I only heard about that one, but
Very poor.
Did Arreola manage to knock him down?
Yeah. But to be fair, it takes a lot to knock Ruiz down, because some of the punches that Joshua hit him with, I know his neck was probably 6 inches thicker again because he lost a load of weight and he looks in very good shape. And you would have thought that he would have been quicker, but he was poor. He was poor. You know, whether that shows AJ up to be not as good as what we think he is, which we'll find out soon. But if they fight each other, I Parker would probably beat him again, and I would have thought that's going to be an eliminator for, you know, one of the ones to come. but I don't know who fights who next, because Usyk is a mandatory. Somebody, if there's going to be one heavyweight with all the belts, then they're going to have to get in line. So who goes first? Is it the WBA number one, the WBC, the IBA, the MFI, the B&Q? Who goes? There's so many of them. There's like 5 belts. Who gets who gets first dibs at it? I don't know.
I don't know.
That's the good thing.
I'm not sure.
That's the good thing with the women's boxing, because it's not in its infancy, but there's a lot of categories where people are becoming world champion at 5, 6, 7 fights.
Yeah.
Then, there's not that many scenarios at the moment that you're going to have to relinquish a WBA because there's a contract with Showtime and not with this. And so the politics are very, very limited at the moment. So it's a good time to be in.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, there's not as many, is there?
Have you, I spoke to you last time about the world champions in your weight. Have you had a look since? You must have.
I know the Australian girl, Susie Q. She's a world champion in my weight.
Is she?
But
Ramadan?
I think so.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't really know anymore. I've not looked.
Well, to be fair, I haven't looked since, but I'm sure there's a couple of Argentinians that one had like 30 odd fights.
Yeah, I think we said that last time, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think one was on about 30 odd fights. One was on about, not many, to be fair, 12 or 14. So it's another, so what's your diary then? As in, what's your roadmap to thinking, right, I want to be there in how long and how many fights, and what's your look on that scale? You're looking at July, you're looking at September. There's your next 2. Win them 2, then you're looking at Christmas or early next year. How long before you move up? Because there's not going to be that many levels.
Yeah, I don't think there's that many levels, because like we said, there's not that many females in our weights. But when I was at Aberdeen, I did speak to my promoter, Lee McAllister.
Yeah.
And he has said he's got a plan. He's got a plan for titles and a route for us. So I'm just going to follow his guidance. And he said a few more fights. So we'll just see. We'll see where we go with it. But he has got a good plan, and I trust he's got a good plan. So I'll stick with it and see where we get to.
It's always good to have a,
he has said he's got a plan for us.
Yeah, that's good. So like in 2 years' time, not for yourself, you move, if you fight that girl in July, and she's the one from France, and who's stuck in France, lives in Derby, if she's slightly above you because she's had 13 fights, then that's your next level. If you pass that, then you've got whoever in September, which you want to be looking at least the same kind of level as as Derby. And then there's probably only a couple of levels. Somebody might have had 15 fights. They might be rubbish and had 15 fights and lost 10.
Yeah.
But in your mind, are you looking at 2 years to become world champion? I
think that's probably realistic. And I'd like sooner if possible. Because I don't want to hang around in the sport. I want to. I've been pro now a year and a half. I mean, I know I've only had 3 fights because of COVID, but I feel like now that the fights are coming in quick and we can get on to shows. I hope if we speak to Lee, I hope the opportunities come a lot quicker. And to be fair, I don't think it'll be that. I don't think it'll be long before I start getting the opportunities for titles and stuff. After speaking to him the other weekend.
Yeah, fair enough. That would be good.
I don't think he'll hang around, so fingers crossed it'll be quicker than that.
So that would need to be arranged then with one of the world champions from Argentina, or let's say Susie from Australia.
Probably, yeah.
Unless
there's anything vacant.
Because I know she's had a few interviews with Sportinarium, and
she has. Yeah,
she's on Twitter quite a lot. So moving on then to the fight this Saturday, with again, I don't understand. Say the Chisora thing with the ring walk. This fight's been arranged. You know, it's 2 years in the making. It's two fighters who've had, well, Canelo's ridiculous. I think he turned pro. I remember watching him. I'm showing my age now. I remember watching him when he was 17 when he turned pro, and he, or maybe even 16. He's had more than I haven't looked at the stats, but I know he's on 50 plus fights, and he only lost against Mayweather. But I know that because he was Saul Alvarez. There was no Canelo. No idea where that's come from. You know, it was Saul Alvarez, and I saw this kid at 17, 18, and I say he's only 25, 26 now, so it's only 7, 8 years, but he's thrown in 50 odd fights. He's beat, if you look at his last 10, 15 fights, phenomenal. You know, the people that he's fought, and he's fighting, you know, probably 3 times a year on average, and he was probably fighting 4 times a year for his first 6 years, and he was thrown in with men. He was 17 years old. He was thrown in with, you know, 25-year-old Mexicans, you know, and he wiped the floor with them. And even at 17, 18, he had big shoulders. He had a big neck. For me, he shouldn't have fought Mayweather because he wasn't experienced. He had 40 fights. So people will go, but he had 40 fights. Yeah, but look at the 40 people who he fought. And there wasn't a single name on there. I think he fought Shane Mosley 2 or 3 fights before, but Mosley's been washed up for 5 years, you know, and then he fought Austin Trout, another one who was at the end of his career. So he hadn't fought a single name, and then to throw him in with Mayweather, who he took him to school, to be fair, if you've seen the fight. But since then, it was like, you know, man against a boy. Yeah, you know, I could imagine. I could imagine that. But now, for me, Canelo would beat him all day long. You know, it's the experience thing, isn't it? Yeah, but you see these things on, you know, on like a Twitter poll, who would win at their peak? For me, Canelo would beat him all day long, because Mayweather, for all of his, you know, his attributes, the one thing that he didn't have, which it really annoyed me when he fought Ricky Hatton. If you've ever seen the Hatton fight, is Hatton had the beating of Mayweather. He was inside him. He was throwing loads of body punches, and every single time he got inside him, the ref pulled him apart. American ref, very good ref, but I've never seen anything like it. And Hatton would have had a very good chance, but he wouldn't let him. The ref wouldn't let him anywhere near Mayweather's chin. So I think this one now, the you know, the palaver about the ring. Yeah, I've seen that. Why isn't that written in the contract? You know, I'm not sure. I presume Billy Joe wants a bigger ring so that he can dance and run around, because he's very, very elusive, and Canelo will find him probably his hardest opponent to catch him. And if you've got a 20-foot ring on the inside, it's going to be easier. So you would have thought there'd be something written in the contract. This is the size of the ring. Surely. Yeah, you'd think it'd be sorted before the week of the fight, what size ring they were having. And like you say, like, you'd think it'd be in the contract. With it being such a big fight as well, you'd think it'd be in the contract. But yeah, it's just great. For me, it's crazy, because, as you said, it's crazy. I've been reading it, what I've seen online, like, I just think it's crazy. Like, after you get to John Ryder out. They've flown John Ryder out as a replacement in case it doesn't happen. I know, and that's true, because who was it now? There was something on Twitter earlier, like a proper interview of somebody in Canelo's camp, and they've confirmed it. You know, I think that's where I saw it. Yeah, it's been confirmed. You know, so it's on a week of, you know, it's the Mexican Day, May the 8th, isn't it? Camp Cinco de Mayo. Is it the 8th? May the 8th? Is this Cinco de Mayo is today, I think, isn't it? The 5th of May? Yeah. Oh, but it's I'm not very good at Spanish. He always has a big fight on the week of, you know, Cinco de Mayo, doesn't he? Yeah. Always. Yeah. So to have your big fight, you know, I know that there's a crowd there, but it's not, you know, maximum. You know, you've flown out. I think it is. Sorry. I think it's because it's in Dallas in Texas, so I think it's going to be 70,000 in wherever the Dallas Cowboys play. It's the massive American football stadium. Yeah, that's the one. AT&T, isn't it? I think it's going to be 70,000. I heard, apparently, full capacity, because they don't really care in Texas like Florida. So. Yeah, it's part of Donald Trump's area, so they don't really understand that if you get a virus, you can die. No, everything's bigger in Texas. Man. But to have 70,000 there, to fly a team over there, the expense of everything, and then go, hold on a second, there's 2 foot difference, which is massive. It's just ridiculous. So what are your thoughts on it then, Nicola, first? What are your thoughts on, obviously it's come together, it's taken years, they could have fought at any time, they're both world champions. What's your take on it?
I think it's going to be a good fight, and I do like, I like watching Canelo box. So I think Canelo's going to win Billy Joe, to be honest.
Why do you think that? What's the...
Well, if he can cut him off the ring and get inside, that is, and Billy Joe's not dancing about the ring.
Matt?
Yeah, I agree with Nicola. I think Canelo's going to win. I don't know if it's all the ring talk making me think he'll be able to stick Billy Joe down and negate his footwork, but I think, what kind of style hasn't Canelo fought against at the minute? He's faced punches and beat him. He's beaten counter punches, sort of slick movers as well. And like you said, his head movement seems to be getting better and better. If you watch his training videos, it's absolutely insane. I mean, it's not like those weird speed videos you see Ryan Garcia landing 50 punches in 5 seconds, but
and then goes for a half an hour break.
Yeah. But like, you think of who Canelo's beaten since the 2 Triple G wins, if you want to call them that, but I think Rocky Fielding, Danny Jacobs, Kovalev, it was Callum Smith, and then that Turkish fella Yildirim last time, wasn't it? He's just been on an absolute tear, and it's the 2 scenarios where the Billy Joe can sort of use the ring if it's big enough and sort of get away from him and manage to sort of pull ahead like Sonny Edwards did at the weekend, and then sort of if you can get 6-7 rounds ahead and sort of just carry on a bit from there, I don't know if he can do that against someone like Canelo, but yeah, I just think his power. He didn't do so well against Martin Murray, did he?
I'm laughing because I can't believe you put Rocky Fielding in with all those other ones.
Oh, I just went chronologically. That was because, but also it wasn't his brother kidnapped or something while he was doing the Rocky Fielding fight. He was like negotiating his release during fight week or something. Bananas like that.
I don't know, but he fought Rocky Fielding and just like pulverized him in the first round. And he took him apart in a couple of rounds. And, Fielding shouldn't have even been in there with him. Callum Smith knocked Fielding out in the first round. And it's like it reminded me of when you put the sacrificial cow in Jurassic Park for the dinosaur to come. It was just like boom, he's got him, and he's like when he fought Amir Khan. The Khan's going to box for 2 or 3 rounds, and then he's going to get pinged, and it's going to be good night Vienna. But yeah, he's fought Kovalev. Triple G, I thought beat him both times, but all the other ones, he's won. He's had some massive fights, and he's won. For me, it's 50-50 for me. I think it's a lot closer than what people think. Billy Joe doesn't fight anywhere near as much. I think he's naturally a fantastic boxer. He's funny. He's a funny guy, which doesn't mean anything, but I just think that it could be very close because when he's fought, I think every time he fights somebody that's a step up, he takes 2 or 3 steps up. He steps up. He fights to he fights to the opponent's ability. When he fought that David LeMay, he made him look stupid. And LeMay was, I think, Canadian, isn't he? I think he's Canadian. He's beaten some good fighters. He's got a big punch, and Billy Joe Saunders made him look stupid. I'm not saying he's going to make Canelo look stupid. My only thing is, if it comes down to the judges, he's going to have to win by 12 rounds to 0 because Canelo is a cash cow like Mayweather, and Canelo clearly lost one fight against Triple G, but he got the decision. The other one was closer, but he lost and he got the decision. So this is out in America. America as in Mexico, America. It's going to be full. It's going to be full of Mexicans. He's the hottest property for money wise on the planet. And you've seen some ridiculous decisions in the last 3-4 years in boxing. So for him to lose on points, I can't see it happening.
Yeah, I can't.
And I can only see I can't see Billy Joe knocking him out because I couldn't see Thor knocking him out with his club, because if Kovalev couldn't knock him out, who was 2 weights above and a beast of a bloke. I saw him knock out, Nathan Cleverly when he first came on the scene, and he's a beast of a guy. And you see the punches that Golovkin threw on Canelo, unbelievable punches that would have taken people's heads off. And same as, Golovkin's got a good chin, but I can't see how we can knock him out, and I can't see how we can win on points. So it's difficult to make a case for Saunders unless he completely closes him out, like what Mayweather did. And it's possible. For me, it's possible.
It is possible, definitely. I agree.
But it's go on, sorry, Mark.
So didn't Mayweather make him? What weight did they fight at? Was it like 157 or 154 or something?
No, it wasn't. It was nothing to do with weight. It was nothing to do.
I thought Mayweather made him sort of cut down because he usually is it 160, 168. He fights at the minute.
He fights at one. He was fighting at 160 then.
160.
He's always been a middleweight. He's moved up to super middleweight. So he's gone from 154. No, sorry, 160 is middleweight.
Yeah.
And then 168, and then he moved up to 176 for Kovalev, I think it was. Or okay. 7 pound increments. So, but. Yeah, it didn't make any difference. It made no difference. It was all down to his experience, and he had nowhere near the head movement. He's got all these different weird punches now, like faking a right uppercut and coming across with the left, and he's got these. You'll see it in the fight. In his last 2 fights, he's got some weird punches that he's obviously like what Prince Naseem used to do. He'd coming in from ridiculous angles, and you've never seen him do it before. But no, Mayweather made him look silly. But he had no experience of fighting, in front of a massive. He was just a rabbit in headlights, but he's improved 1,000,000% since then. You can't even compare that. But no, it's going to be close. The only other one on the boxing front is because there's no real women's one coming up in the next few weeks. Is there? You got Shields. Shields is fighting MMA. What are your thoughts on? Because it's been again on Marshall's very quiet. She goes about her business. She took apart her last opponent in a round, and the woman had never been knocked. She'd never been out before. And then you've got, on the other hand, Shields is very vocal on Twitter about being the greatest ever women's sports person on the planet of all time in the universe. And she's knocking out everybody. But you look at her knocking out percentage, it's 20-odd%.
Yeah, she's not got that many, has she?
No. So, what are your thoughts on that as a potential, potential within the next 6 months?
I think it needs to happen. I do think it needs to happen. But I think Savannah. I think she's quiet, and I think she is a good boxer, and I think she could win her. To be honest.
Well, she's definitely got the punch power.
She's got the punch power.
I can't remember who was it we were talking to. They talked somebody in the last couple of weeks. Might have been just me and you, Matt. I'm not sure, but. Because the day after her fight, I watched the fight in the morning, and the knockdown, it didn't look like it was powerful. But because she's so tall and she's got so much leverage I don't know the statistics, but she's obviously got a long reach, and it came from so far back and it was straight. The timing was absolutely on the button, so it was good night. Yeah,
and I think that she just makes it look like easy work, and she weren't tired at the end of that. I know she only did a few rounds, but I don't even think she got going really.
No,
definitely not. So I think she's got a lot in the tank.
Just on that point, what are your thoughts? Because I've seen some a bit of talk about it, nothing to do with it ever happening. But what are your thoughts on 3 rounds rather than 2, and like less rounds? So I don't know, whatever it is. So some are 8, some are 10. So 8 rounds of 2 or 10 rounds of 10. Having 6 rounds of 3, or change. At some. What are your thoughts on the time of the rounds and the rounds?
I do like doing the 2-minute rounds. So I'd probably prefer the 2 minutes and sticking with more rounds. But if they were to move it to 3 minutes, again, it won't really bother me because I used to do 3 minutes in the amateurs, and I guess you train for the rounds. And like on the bags and stuff at the minute, I do 3 minutes on the bags anyway. So probably you just have to up your sparring to do 3 minutes in sparring, because we only do 2 minutes sparring because to make it realistic, because we're only fighting 2 minutes. So yeah, I don't really mind. I do prefer doing the twos now, but if they were to change it, I'd just change my training to adapt it. It's not like I've not done it before. I did it for probably my last 10 amateur fights. I did three threes. So I know it's only 3 rounds, but again, you just adapt your training, don't you?
I presume it would only, they would cut it down anyway. So it wouldn't be 10 rounds of 2 or 8. It would probably be 8 or 6 or whatever it would be. But no, it's just an interesting thought, because I know that there's been lots of they have these silly discussions about, why are men paid more than women in certain sports, and obviously in tennis it's equal pay, but women have 3 sets whereas men have 5. So there's certain things. Obviously at the moment men are getting paid more than women in the boxing. It's all down to viewing figures and sponsorship.
And then how many viewers you get as well, isn't it?
Yeah. It's, for me, the big one is the football. With obviously you're a Blades fan. We can talk about them in a sec. But that what's her name? Megan Rapinoe. The American. She's got a point on one side where she's talking about the men's American football, as in soccer team, get paid more than the women's soccer team, and the women's soccer team are far better. They've always been far better. In the 1990s, they were the best in the world, and they've been the best in the world ever since. But they're still not bringing in as much money as the men on the TV, on the MLS with Beckham's team now, and all whoever, all the foreigners who, when they don't get very good, they go and play in America for the money. But they're bringing in the money. So on the boxing side of things, for me, again, because we're kind of in the business now and we talk about it a lot, we're more seasoned, and I was looking forward more to the Taylor Jonas fight, because it was, it's a massive fight. I know the Chisora Parker fight, the ex-world champion and Chisora, but Chisora's, he's past it. He's past it now. He's had his couple of world title fights. He's clinging on to that, he doesn't want to retire because you're a long time retired. Parker's trying for his last shot. This is kind of like last chance saloon. If he loses in his next fight or gets a world title fight and loses, well, then that's him finished. Whereas Taylor is a 2-3 weight world champion. She's got all the belts, fighting against Jonas, who is probably the closest to her apart from maybe one of the Serrano sisters. And who's the one that she just beat? She'd only just beat. I thought it was very close. So you got the Serrano sisters and can't think of her name.
But that one, she boxed twice. Did she box her twice?
Yeah, and I thought she lost. Passoon. And I thought she lost one of them. I thought she was very lucky.
I thought she lost the first one. I thought she was lucky with that.
Yeah,
so the second one was close.
Yeah, so to have two people in the pinnacle of their career fighting, me and Martin discussed this before you came on about the fights before, but to have them on, and then to have Ricky Hatton's son come on for a 4-rounder against a guy that's fought 4 times and lost 4 times, was unbelievable.
Yeah, I thought that.
I thought it was ridiculous. But they should have been the headline act. And if they'd been the headline act, who would have been paid the most money? And what are your thoughts, Matt, on that?
Yeah, I just think the most important thing they need to do now for women's boxing is put more of the big fights on, sort of higher up the pay-per-view like that. It's the same in any sport, really. The sort of ability with the players are there in football and rugby and the women's side of the game. So with boxing and MMA with women fighters, sorry. It's just about trying to raise the awareness, sort of raise the profile of it and put them on the big shows, sort of mix the women's fights in a bit more with the men's on a pay-per-view. you know, the interviews and that you do during fight week sort of give equal opportunities and things like that out. But also, you know, it's partly on the fighters. If you look at like what Ebony Bridges has done to build their social media following up, I know Clarissa Shields done that as well. And she sort of talked her way into a round of the PFL. That's the MMA promotion she's fighting for. And in each division, I think you can win $1 million if you win. So they do it in like a yearly season, see who's the champion for each year. So you can win $1 million for each division. So, yeah, it's going to be a big payday for her. Oh, did anyone see actually as well? I think Amanda Serrano is making her MMA debut in like July or maybe August. Yeah, she's going to be. I think it's for a Mexican or a Latin American promotion, but that's only just been announced. So that's something to watch out for as well. But going back to Clarissa Shields and MMA as well, I don't know how much that might affect her sort of in the ring actually, because the extra element she's going to have to train sort of to be competitive. I'm not saying I think she won't be competitive in the cage, but you know, she's been boxing for so long. I think a stand up and a striking is probably going to be fine, but she comes in against someone who's more of a jiu-jitsu player or a judoka or a wrestler. They can get a hold of her legs, sort of press her up against the cage and take her down. She might struggle. So, you know, maybe that could distract her away from boxing a bit. And then when she does come back, she might not be the same. You know, that's have to see what happens there. But she's been training with this Jackson Wink MMA, and they've got John Jones and Holly Holmes and really high level guys and girls training out of there. So she's not lacking in training partners. But I think from when I started watching combat sports, I have to say it's probably about 8 to 10 years ago for MMA, and probably about 5 years been dipping in and out of boxing. I have noticed more now, especially promoters and television companies are better at hyping women's events up and sort of giving a bit more attention to the female fighters. But I think they need to continue on the path they're doing now, and because there are so many great women's fights out there. You know, you think Taylor Jonas and Bridges Courtney, probably, I know it's only April, well, it's only May now, isn't it? But, you know, 2 easily fight of the year contenders coming up there.
Definitely.
Was it the 10th round in Bridges Courtney? You could probably even give that round of the year maybe for work and that. But yeah, what are have you noticed much of a shift in it, Nicola, since you've made the jump to professional?
Yeah, I think there's a lot more. There's a lot more now, and there's like you said, trying to raise the profile a lot more. I have noticed it a lot more, especially probably the last 6 months, like 6 months to a year. There's been a big push on it. I don't really watch. I don't watch MMA, but boxing wise, I do think there's been a push.
Yeah, I don't watch MMA. It's a different sport, you know. It's a totally different.
Yeah,
sport,
it's different.
You know? But I do think if Taylor Jonas had been the headline, they would have had the same amount of following, because Chisora Parker's, you know, probably Chisora and Parker wouldn't have fought. You know what Chisora Parker would have, because he seems to be like a nice guy. But I think Chisora would have been, unless I'm the headline. I think he did say that, didn't he? Unless I'm the headline act. You know, you had Chris Eubank Jr. on there, who was happy to come in, you know, 4 fights down the line. I thought that, the Hatton thing was pathetic, but if Taylor Jonas had been headlining, I think it would have got the same viewing figures. There wouldn't have been any.
I do as well.
You know, yes, it was good, you know, because Chris Eubank Jr. has been a world champion and he's fighting before them. You know, I think that the Hatton thing must have come about because I was saying to Martin earlier, there was a fight on earlier which finished in 1 round. So they must have rescheduled it and then just thrown them in, because, you know, his surname is Hatton, but he's had 2 or 3 fights fighting against the guy that's never won a fight. So it was a bit embarrassing to see it. But I know, you know, I mentioned just now about Angelo Dragoni. He was meant to be fighting at 5 o'clock on the matchroom night. And it wasn't even meant to be televised on Sky. But somebody got COVID tested positive. So they were thrown out of it. And then he was scheduled from 5. They threw him up about 4 fights in. So I think that's what they must have done with Hatton because of the first round knockdown. But yeah, it must have been, you know, it's disappointing not to be headlining. You know, you're a world champion and you're fighting before somebody, and it's not a world title fight.
Yeah. You know, it could have easily been the headline.
Oh yeah. I think it'll happen.
Got the views in.
Yeah, it'll happen in the future at some point. You know, we've seen a few Now there was an all-female one. Obviously, yours was the first one in this area, but there was one before, and that was quite a good one as well. And again, it's only in the last 6 months. It's just there always comes a stage in any sport where at some point it goes through the roof. It did it in cricket when they changed to having it was dull for TV, all wearing white, playing all day in a 5-day test match, and then all of a sudden it's all right. You're going to be wearing blue. You're wearing green. You're going to have the bails with the lights flying off the window when the ball gets bowled and these floodlights and everything. But when you're into cricket, you're against it. You want to play, you want to be traditional and all this kind of thing. But to bring in more viewers for the fans, it was the only way forward. The IPL in India and what the Australian Big Bash and stuff. And I think in boxing now, that next level. It's the ring walks are getting more hyped up.
Yeah, they are.
What you call it, the behind the gloves and all that kind of stuff. It's just, and it's all, social media is a godsend for certain things, and Definitely. It makes a massive difference for people's profiles.
Definitely, I agree.
What are your thoughts on the build-up side of things, Matt?
I was going to say, you could even go a step further and do what Triller Fight Club did with bloody Jake Paul and Ben Askren, and have the Black Keys playing for half an hour, and then have Snoop Dogg doing half an hour of stand-up, and got Oscar De La Hoya on the cocaine and doing karaoke. Yeah, I think, I don't know, because I follow a lot of MMA fans on Twitter, and a lot of them really don't like boxing, and I've never understood that massively, to be honest with you, but their main argument is that boxing's been so stale for so long. And I think maybe certain divisions, because of how diffuse it is with the various organizations and how many belts there are, I think we're looking at 17. I'm joking. So sometimes, the right matchups aren't made, and sort of people can duck people for 2-3 years, and then fights happen when they shouldn't have. You think Mayweather Pacquiao, that probably happened 8 years too late or something. So I think to bring younger audiences in, sometimes different audience members in, because I think they always say the biggest market in a sort of big pay-per-view event is the casual fan, because they're the ones that are going to, maybe not so much now because of COVID restrictions, but in the past, you stay up for a big pay-per-view, you go in your mate's house, if a pub isn't showing it, you have a few beers, you all split the pay-per-view, and sort of, that's how they acquire the money. So I think, I don't know if there's a way they can really look to change the pay-per-view model to bring more people in. I think it's good in the UK because they're never usually that expensive, aren't they? I know Floyd Mayweather usually charges about $90 or something for his pay-per-views, but
$80-$90 out of America.
Like that. I think he went 3 ways on the McGregor Mayweather pay-per-view, so it was about 25 quid between 3 of us. So it's still like, okay, I'm paying sort of this amount of money to watch him sort of piece up a guy who's never actually boxed professionally before, and his main weapon is kicking people. So,
I think what you just said there about Jake Paul, it's good in one way because they're bringing in all the YouTubers, the fans and all that. It's good, if they carry on watching it. But you got Floyd Mayweather fighting a guy, his brother Logan Paul. He's had one fight. He's lost against KSI, who is a YouTube prankster. So if you're losing against somebody like that who'd never boxed before, for me it's embarrassing for boxing. It's good to get people in, but don't have it on pay-per-view where he's going to make whatever he's going to make, a stupid amount of money, more money than we'll all make together ever. He's not going to knock him out in one round because all those YouTube fans won't come back again. So he'll do the same as what he did with McGregor. He'll basically like a cat playing with a mouse for 12 rounds, and then maybe knock him down in the 10th or whatever it is. It's a show. It's not boxing.
Yeah, I agree.
Speaking of that celebrity boxing type thing, sorry. Anderson Silva, don't you? Randolph the Spider. Yeah. He's having a celebrity not celebrity boxing match, but I think it's Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. They're meant to be having an exhibition fight in the next month or two. So again, that's another weird crossover pay-per-view headliner type thing they're trying to throw at us. I think Evander Holyfield's meant to be making a comeback in. I can't remember who he's fighting. I might have got that wrong.
Well, Mike Tyson's meant to be fighting Lennox Lewis in September. You know, they're going to be wheeling people. They'll be doing wheelchair boxing before long. You know, it's just, you know, but it's all for money, and it needs to be, you know, looking at it, have it as a different sport. You've got the white collar boxing, which is casuals. Have it as, call it something different. It can't just be, oh, it needs to be, it shouldn't be pay-per-view. It should be, this is an exhibition match, like he did with that Chinese guy, the blonde-headed guy who was about 22. Mayweather.
Tenshin Nakamura, the kickboxer that Mayweather fought. Yeah.
You know, have it like that. You know, but you know, that's it really. And the only other one was there's still Fury and AJ. It's edging close. I've heard it's in Saudi and it's going to be in August. But have you heard anything? I know there's contracts are meant to have been signed and announcement is imminent. But imminent for me means in the next couple of days, and it's been imminent for 3 weeks. Yeah,
that's what I thought. I don't know if they're gonna. I don't know when it's gonna get signed, because I just feel like they've been saying that for ages.
I think it's 100% deal, because they're both coming out and saying that it's 100%. It's gonna happen. Hearn has said the same thing, you know, and it's not going to happen, because I think the money is going to be, because it's in Saudi Arabia, it's going to be astronomical. You know, it's out there. It's the government. You know, the whatever his name is, the sheikhs out there. I've got trillions to play with, so it's like, you know, we want it in our country. We want to showcase it like they did when, who did he fight? AJ fought in Saudi Arabia before, didn't he?
It was the Ruiz rematch.
The second fight. So they built a stadium for it, you know, in the middle of the desert. You know, you can have the aircon, whatever they want to do, but it's going to be, it's all eyes of the world will be on Saudi Arabia. So they've just opened up the checkbook and go, how much do you want? Yeah. So it'll what's the word? It'll set both of those fighters up for life. They'd never need to fight again. And it's a 2-fight deal. So even if they lose, they're going to make that money again. So it's not going to happen, but it's just frustrating. Yeah, it's imminent. It's imminent. But when's it, you know, we want to know. No, because that's one that I would actually pay for. A lot of them, like the Canelo, I pay for that one. But there's so much, 95% of these pay-per-views, like the Chisora fight, you know, you can get a link off WhatsApp. I wouldn't pay for something like that on a pay-per-view. Yeah. But I think it's going to be one of the biggest ever pay-per-views, you know, apart from Nicola's next fight. But that's basically it on the boxing. Thanks for coming on, Nicola. We're not going to bore you with the football, because you've probably got to get up early and do your run and your training and stuff.
Yeah, got work tomorrow, so yeah, I've got to be up quite early. But football wise, I don't think we need to touch on that anyway.
Well, obviously, to be fair, the last time we spoke about the Blades, and it's probably, what are we in now? We're in May, so it's probably around Christmas time, wasn't it? It's probably about.
Yeah, it would have been. Yeah,
probably about nearly 5 months ago we spoke last.
They'd not had a win last time we spoke.
They were on 1 point.
Yeah.
I can't remember how many games had been played, Mark, but they were on 1 point after about 9-10 games. And we looked at the statistics, and to be fair, the only thing that I know you could say it, you know, you'd laugh when I say, you know, the only thing they were doing wrong is they weren't scoring goals, which you could say about any club. But to be fair, they played Man City, they played Liverpool, and they were only losing 1-0.
Yeah.
But since then, they've won quite a few games. At one stage, they'd won that many. It was like, oh, is this going to be a miracle? But then the other team started winning as well, you know, which is unfortunate. But any thoughts on them? And then, you know, what do you think is going to happen next season? Do you think anybody in the team that you've got who will want to stay in the Premiership and will move, do you think? Or
I'm hoping next year. I think Sheffield United are one of the teams that need the crowd. I think it's their extra player.
Okay.
So I'm hoping that next year, when the crowds are back, fingers crossed, I'm hoping that they'll shoot straight back to the Premier League. Because I think they're good enough. Like we said, they were only losing 1-0 against the top 6. They're only losing 1-0 or 2-1 or scraping a draw. It was just they couldn't get that win. So I feel like if they've got that, I feel like if the team are fit and there's no injuries and the crowds are back, I think they'll go back up to the Premier League.
I think it will. They were comfortable coming up. They were easily promoted. And I think the other stat that I remember was after that 9-10 games, they'd only scored 3 goals and 2 of them were penalties. Yeah. So they'd only scored 1 goal in 10 games. The only team, I think it was Chelsea had beaten them 4-0. It was like the only big loss that they had. But everything else was 1-0, 2-1. There was a lot of nils in there because you hadn't scored many goals. But yeah, it was when you look at some of the other ones, in the last 6 weeks, West Brom, they beat who did they beaten?
They beat Chelsea 5-2.
Yeah, they beat Chelsea 5-2. Chelsea had 10 there. They'd beaten quite a few. They'd won quite a few games in a row. They beat Southampton 3-0. And Southampton are a decent side. But because is it Brewster, isn't it? You got Brewster from Liverpool. He's pretty much done nothing since he's been there. But is there anybody that you're worried about who they've had the sniff of the Premier League now? And is there anyone there that you think is good enough to be, look, I'm going?
I'm not sure, to be honest. I don't think so.
No.
I don't think so. I don't think they've got anybody at the minute that'll go to the Premier League. I think they need to go back to the Championship and work together and get back up there together.
And is there obviously there's a lot of weaknesses in the team in the Premier League. Where would you look at? You can't say everywhere because they have done pretty well. I know they're bottom. It's kind of like a false position. It's been a weird season. Everybody has beaten everybody. But do you think there's anywhere in particular that they need to improve on? Would it be defense or strikers or where would
I'd say I don't think the defense is bad. Like they're only losing by 1 goal most of the time. They're only losing by 1 goal. But then if we could strike and score, we could probably score 2 goals and only let 1 in. So then we'd win 2-1. So probably the striking and when they get the ball up the pitch, they need to get it in the net. They need to be able to score because I feel like they can get it up. They can get it up that side of the pitch, but they just can't get it in the net. The other team's defense always seems to get it and shoot it back down to the other side. So I feel like that's where they need to work on it.
I think that's the problem with a lot of teams coming up. Unless you've I'm just trying to think who's coming up. Norwich are coming up, aren't they? Not and they've been there before. But was Sheffield United in the Championship for a few years? They haven't been up in the Premiership. Wednesday.
Yeah, they're in Championship quite a few years. Yeah, it's been a good few years since they were last in Premier League. Yeah.
So that's where the problem is. You can be is it McGoldrick? Who's the strikers? Who are the?
There's McGoldrick. There's Billy Sharp. There's
Ollie McBurney.
Yeah, McBurney.
And is Mousset still injured?
Mousset's still in it. Yeah, he were injured quite a lot. They weren't this season.
Yeah. So you've got 4 guys there who. They could be comfortably good in the Championship against Championship defenders, and you can be thinking that you're better than what you are. But then when you move up to the Premier League and you're playing against pretty much, I don't know, you're talking probably the top 14 sides, every single defender will be an international.
Yeah.
That's the huge difference. So bringing in Brewster, I thought, because he looked very promising at Liverpool as a 17, 18-year-old. It's like this guy's going to be, he was very quick and he could score, but he might be one of those ones who, it goes to your head. You're 17, 18, you're on 20, 30 grand a week. You don't really need to work for it. You're playing football and earning a shed load of money. And he seems to be one of those, whereas you need somebody to break that deadlock for you. And it needs to be, even if it's somebody from the Premier League, just a seasoned professional, like somebody who's like 30 odd years old. You only need to be scoring 10, 12 goals. You don't need to be scoring 20, for somebody like Sheffield. If Sheffield United had scored 12 to 13 more goals this season, they probably wouldn't be relegated.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
For me, if I was like, I don't know, involved with Sheffield United, you'd need to be rather than looking at like Wolves did. They bought was it 20 odd million quid for a 17-year-old Portuguese guy, Fabio Silva. Looks great, but he could fall flat on his face. Whereas if you bought somebody, I can't think of a name or anyone from a team, but there's guys in their 30s who are on the bench, say for like Leicester. You've got your Vardys, you've got your top players, but then there'll always be like a Giroud comes on for Chelsea. That kind of, he's not past it, but he'll score you 12, 13 goals. And if you come in for Sheffield United, if they've got decent midfielders who can supply, you just need somebody simple to put the ball in the back of the net.
Yeah.
And they won't cost an arm and a leg,
Yeah, I agree.
But you need him in the Championship, so he gets into the team for a year rather than buying somebody at the end of the season for the Premier League,
Yeah. They need to be in for they need to be in the Championship to work with the squad, don't they? So you know what you're doing before you go into the Premier League, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So you're not going in blind, say. How does the squad work?
Well, you're a team, aren't you? So you need to know, this is as an Arsenal supporter, Mart, I remember Ian Wright saying that, as part of a team, obviously they were a fantastic team, but he used to say that he would make a run and Paul Merson would pass him the ball and he could be blindfolded. He would know where he's going to run. So it's basically that. If you've got a player coming in and he has a whole season with you at Sheffield United, they'll know where he makes his runs. Certain players make certain runs, But it'll be interesting. As I say, you've got a good enough team to come straight back up as long as you keep your players. But you've got to look. You can't stand still thinking, we were in the Premier, we're going to go straight back up. Because there'll be other teams. West Brom are. Well, it's ironic that they're called boing boing baggies because literally they go Premier League, Division, Premier League, Division. They're bouncing up and down every year, so they'll be probably favourites next year to go up.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter if it's Fulham or Burnley. The baggies they're too good to be down. They've got a good side. So but no, it's been good having you on. Come back again after you've had your next fight.
I will do.
No,
been nice talking to you.
No, it's been good. I'll let you get some kip because you got a long day ahead tomorrow. Me and Mart will we'll carry on from it talking about the Premier League and Champions League and the I don't know what's the easiest way to put it. With Man United and Liverpool's game being called off because of supporters. And but good luck in your next fight, and we'll speak to you soon. Thanks for coming on, Nicola.
Thank you. Speak to you soon.
No problems. Thanks,
Nicola. Nice to talk to you. Thank you.
Ta-da.
Bye.
Right, Matt. Champions League. I haven't even looked at the. If we look at Man City first. Paris Saint-Germain. 2-0. Beat them pretty easily. Even though Paris Saint-Germain say they had 70 minutes of the ball and they threw their dummy out after the game with Herrera talking and Di Maria being his petulant self. Man City in the final. Aguero's last ever game. The writing's on the wall, isn't it, surely? What are your thoughts?
It really is. It's a shame they didn't do better in the FA Cup, and that quadruple we've been mentioning could have been on the cards. But they've just really put such a good run of form together since December, maybe early January, and they just look unstoppable at the minute. I mean, it was. There's some really meaty tackles going in the first few minutes. I thought Fernandinho was quite lucky not to have a yellow card inside the first 4 or 5. Mahrez has just been so good, especially the past couple of weeks. I don't know if it's just his form in the Champions League, but did he get them both last night, or was it just the first?
No, he got them both. He always both, didn't he? Yeah, that was scores in the big games. Just a bit of breaking news: they're playing Chelsea in the final because Chelsea are 2-0 up.
Oh, they 2-0 up. I'd just seen Werner was.
Werner scored after
they just scored a second.
Yeah, Mason Mount after 85. So they're 3-1 up on aggregate, and obviously. They've also got the away goal. So really, they need to score 3 goals in 4 minutes. So it's pretty much Man City Chelsea final. We can jump ahead and then jump back because Man City are playing Chelsea on the weekend as well in the Premier League. So yeah, awesome. Yes, yeah, you're right. Mahrez, big time player. Anything else that stood out for you with that game, apart from there being snow on the pitch?
Yeah, that was the one thing that caught me. I was wondering if some of the prima donna PSG players were going to get on with the conditions. Yeah, no, I just thought City did really well to pick PSG apart. I think the thing that lets PSG down in some of the bigger games, like their attack, is absolutely unstoppable. There's no denying that. They've probably got one of the best front threes in the world, and
yeah, on paper,
the midfield, on paper, it depends how they perform on the day as well. But the midfield and the defense still probably more the midfield than the defense because Kimpembe and Marquinhos, they're both really solid centre backs. Yeah, I just don't know about the midfield because I think Gay was, is it Guyana? He was suspended because he got sent off in the last game.
Yeah.
And then, so you're in there with Herrera and you remember who else was playing in the middle with him?
Not sure. Obviously, you've got Di Maria.
Was it Paredes?
Yeah, but it's what you just said there. You've got, to me, it reminded me a little bit of the Newcastle in the 90s. They had all the strikers, but you're going to score against them. Mbappe, Neymar, Di Maria. Herrera's more of an attacking midfielder. He was at United. He wasn't a holding midfielder. So you've just got too much going forward. And unless you're going to score, which they didn't do, you're going to concede. That's my kind of take on it.
No, that's it. Sometimes you've got that much firepower up top. You win 5-3 or 4-3, and sometimes the goals don't come for you and you lose 2-0. I think that's the case of what's happening with them. I think Pochettino's done very well since he's taken over, and they got to the final last year. I know it was under Thomas Tuchel, wasn't it? So they've got to a final and the semi-final the year after. They're I think they'd had a bit of a troubled time getting past the quarterfinal as well in recent years because people were taking the mick about the money clubs not really being able to advance.
Yeah.
And City and PSG the last couple of years have managed to put that to one side. So I guess oil can buy you a good football team, but all English final looking on the cards. That'll be an interesting one. We'll just have to. I think United aren't going to let the side down in the Europa League. They're looking like they're going through, but I don't know if we've got the away goal again, but I don't know if we're going to beat Villarreal tomorrow. So
what was this? Obviously, I know United stuffed them. And I saw Arsenal 1-0 down. What was the final score?
It was 2-1. We went 2-0 down. I did not watch much of the game, to be honest. I turned off after 2-0 because I was a bit irritated.
Yeah.
Just poor in possession. The sort of final passes in the final third just too slow or not coming at all sometimes.
Right.
I can't remember who we set up with in midfield, but supposedly we were meant to have everyone fit and available again that's sort of been out injured. I think like Tierney and that were coming back.
Right.
It just didn't really seem to start going until maybe the second goal went in. I think it was maybe half an hour into the game. So by then, I think it's been the case with our performances a lot this season. We've been starting too late. And then if we're 1 goal down, sometimes we can turn it around. But if we're 2-3 goals down by that point, we just haven't allowed ourselves the time to sort of get into a rhythm, score a couple of goals, get back into it. But I think it was Pepe that scored the penalty. That was the away goal. We got that. That just means we have to nick a 1-0 win. And it's a game at home. And I think the way Arteta sets his sides up, he might be able to set a team up to absorb the pressure. If I shouldn't really be talking against teams like Villarreal about having to soak up and absorb pressure for 90 minutes. That's where Arsenal are at the minute. So, we just need those key players to put a shift in and get the job done for us. It's good to have Aubameyang scoring in form again. I know. I think I read today he lost maybe 4 kilograms, something daft like that, while he was battling malaria. So you can imagine it's taking him a bit of time to get his match fitness back if you're losing that much weight. But yeah, Lacazette's been in pretty decent form the tail end of the season. I think Smith Rowe's back from injury. Saka seems to be getting over the little niggles. I want to say Pepe's finding a bit of form, but I don't want to heap too much praise on him because I still don't think it's earned £72 million worth of praise. But yeah, if the right players put the shift in on the night, we could definitely meet you in the final and lose 2-0. But
that'd be great. Yeah. It'd be great to have an All-England Europa and All-England Champions League. It would be, it's kind of like one in the eye for the money teams abroad. Like I say, Paris Saint-Germain, Juventus,
Real Madrid tonight.
Bayern Madrid, Bayern Munich, Real Madrid, all of those teams. Yes, there's a big money in the UK as well, but it shows that to have 4 teams, that's it's a good spectacle, to look forward to at the end of the season with all of them playing. If we move on then to Premier League this week, Leeds Spurs, who's going to win?
Ooh. Well, you picked
Gareth Bale scoring a hat-trick and playing really well this week. Leeds, they lost, I think, didn't they? They lose. They lost on the weekend 1-0, I think. I'm sure they lost.
I can't remember who they're up against.
I can't remember. I'm sure they lost.
I thought Bale's hat-trick at the weekend was absolutely fantastic. I know it was against Burnley, was it?
It doesn't matter. A hat-trick against
Burnley.
How many hat-tricks have been there this season with anybody,
That's a good point. But no, he's just I think personally this season he's vindicated a lot of the criticism he's had put against himself. Everyone said he went missing until January. Well, it's quite easy to go missing if you're not playing for months at a time, isn't it? I've read some Twitter stats, so I'm not sure how verified they are, but they were from the Athletic, so I'll give him the props. He gets a goal or an assist in the Premier League every 51 minutes, so he creates a goal sort of every half and a bit of a game. So that averages at least a goal created every game. And I think his goal to game ratio as well this season compared to goal to minute ratio, this season compared to players in sort of seasons over the last 10 years is the highest. I think it's like 89 minutes to goal. And then Papis Cisse is in second place for one of the seasons he had at Newcastle. It's like 91 minutes ago. So the form he's in this year for Spurs, he's sort of filled in for Kane and Son, I think, when they've not been firing as much, because they've I think for the first half of the season they were like a comedy double act, just firing off each other perfectly, like you said before with Sheffield United bringing a player in. They sort of have that telepathy almost, where one's one side of the field, one's the other. They just ping it across 40 yards, know exactly the runs they're making.
Yeah,
you do develop those partnerships. When I think that Kane's been at Spurs for years, Son's got to have been there 4 or 5 years now, maybe as well. So
I think that the problem with Bale is there's no doubt. I think the only thing would be they're trying to manage him not getting injured. But I think they might be over managing it, as in not playing him enough. Because he went through, when Mourinho was there, he went through about a 4 or 5 game stint where I remember he scored 2 goals in one game, 1 in the next. He might have scored 7 or 8 goals in less than 7 or 8 games. And then he wasn't played for like 3 or 4 weeks and he wasn't injured. And it's like, you're on a stupid amount of money. You're training 4 or 5 times a week. Surely you can manage yourself to play that one game. Don't play, if it's a game against Burnley on a Saturday or it's a Europa League game on a Wednesday, then you play in the Wednesday game. You don't play on the Saturday. You play your one game every 7 days, as opposed to a 23-year-old like Foden playing, every 5 minutes. So it seems to me that he's been managed too much on keeping him in cotton wool. And I say he scored a hat-trick. Is he going to be playing in the next week or 2? I know Kane was injured because of his ankle, and so they're only giving him a bit of game time. But I just think he's overmanaged, and let him get on with it. Let him play as many games as he can, and he'll score you goals every week. And especially they're playing Leeds. Leeds are, we have Wayne on from America. I don't know. You've been on with him, haven't you, Wayne?
I think so.
Yeah, he's he's the Leeds fan, and he says the same thing. There's 2 different Leeds sides. They either play well and beat the best teams, or they could easily lose against the bottom teams. So it depends which team and they're fighting for, they're on, I think they're on 47 or 48 points, because we had a bit of a debate a couple of months ago, and he was like, we'll only get to 50 points max. And I thought that they would get more. And they're only 1 win away from 50 points. And I presume there's, how many games left? 3, 4?
It's 4 games they've got left, and they are on 47, so they only need another 3.
Yeah, 1 more win. So, at the time, I thought they might have even got close to 60, but they've lost a couple of games in the last few weeks where the teams that are below them So that's where the consistency. Sheffield United, Palace. Who's going to win? Which team?
Have Palace really got much to play for at the minute? Because they're doing okay, aren't they? They're about 12th, maybe.
No, I think they're a bit lower down now. They've lost a couple.
Oh no, they're 13th. Yeah, they've got a game in hand though, so they do.
But
yeah,
the
it's
Blades
getting
got
quite.
nothing to play. The Sheffield United got nothing to play for.
That's the thing. If Palace can just keep pulling away a bit more, I think they'll be fine. Maybe 1 or 2 more wins, but it is quite congested when you look at the lower. I think there's from Newcastle up to Palace, there's only 2 points difference. There's about 4 or 5 teams in there. Realistically, I wouldn't say probably Southampton, Brighton, or Palace are likely to go down. It's going to more likely be Newcastle and Burnley slugging it out. Do you reckon? Oh no, Fulham and Newcastle and Burnley slugging it out. Sorry, but yeah, I think with the players Palace have got like Eze and Zaha, that's probably just enough to get them over the line. But with Zaha's always been a bit of a weird one for me. You probably have a bit better perspective because he played for United for a couple of years, didn't he? Or he went out on loan for one of them, but he's very hit and miss. Like he can be absolutely unplayable and unstoppable on his day. He's got very good footwork, very good finishing, but sometimes I think he can get a bit pissed off and agitated during a game. That really shows, and it sort of affects his play a bit. So it's whether those key players can perform for Palace, I'd say.
Oh, 100%. But my take on him is when he came to United, it was a great buy, and they just didn't give him a fair crack at the whip. It was as simple as that. He played for a bit, didn't get many games. I can't remember who the midfielders were in the team at the same time as him, but he was banging in goals left, right, and centre for Palace, because then he went back to Palace.
Yeah,
he was a Palace player, and for me, he was a very good player, but just wasn't given game time at United. They bought him for a good chunk of money. I thought, oh, that's great, and attacking midfielder who could score goals, and we needed that, and they didn't play him. Which was a shame for him as a youngster. So then to go back to a team like Palace, which, no disrespect, is, you're jumping down a couple of standards. You're being back to being the big fish in a little pond. So if you perform, you perform. If you don't, doesn't matter, because you're still going to be in the first team. That's the problem with him. And that's why you're saying about him being lazy. City, Chelsea.
That's going to be a good one, I think.
Well, so on City, Chelsea, for me, I'd say... City have got nothing to play for. Why would you put your team out and give them an insight into how you play when you're playing them in the Champions League? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, if Chelsea hadn't have, probably have beaten Madrid by now. If they hadn't got to the final tonight, I think City, they've properly wrapped up. No, they just need one more win to wrap the title up, is it? But
whatever
it's a formality at this stage, isn't it?
If they put out any team against Chelsea and any team against the rest, they're still going to win the league. Whereas Chelsea, who are they 4th or are they 5th? Let's just have a quick look. I know that they're obviously
they're 4th at the moment. They're only 2 off Leicester, so.
But they're in the Champions League final. So if they win the final, obviously they're going to get automatic anyway. But if they don't win, and West Ham are playing at home against Everton, West Ham are going to want to win. Yeah. They'll be level on points, level on games, but Chelsea will be up on the goal difference by quite a bit. But they're going to want to beat Man City. So they haven't got the luxury of changing 11 players where Man City have. What do you think will happen with that on Saturday? What do you think the tactics will be?
I think Tuchel likes to set his sides up to quite defensively resolute. So I don't know if Chelsea will maybe go for like a 4 at the back, depending on who they think City's going to play instead of. I think he's played the 5 sometimes with wing backs. I think he's used Alonso and Azpilicueta, weirdly enough, as wouldn't really consider it more of a one in a back 3, I'd maybe say. But yeah, if City do make a few changes, they might start that American lads. They start in the cup in goal. Maybe even you'd imagine Aguero probably might not start in the Champions League final, considering he didn't start in the semi-final. So maybe they'll give him a run out because. He's still a big game player, I'd say. Maybe even someone like Ferran Torres. Yeah, exactly. Maybe the players that aren't so much in form at the minute, like Sterling and that, will get more of a chance to showcase and put a case in for the final. I think for a lot of the fringe players, it might be sort of like a bit of a dress rehearsal for them to say, okay, well, can you put in a good shift for 70 minutes and then we'll give you 20 minutes at the end of the final. And you might be the one that comes on late to get to the winner, or so it drags on to extra time. You know, we know you can put a shift and we'll bring you on late. It's,
People like,
yeah.
do you think they'll rest De Bruyne for to stop him getting injured? And like Foden, who's played loads of games, do you think they'll rest them ones?
Maybe De Bruyne, Foden, Diaz, maybe as well, because I think he's played quite a lot of football.
He was awesome last night.
He was fantastic. He's been such a good buy for them, I have to say. I wish Stan Kroenke could get the checkbook out like that for us, and not on people from the Farmers League either. You know, that's the thing with City. They've just got, we say it every time we talk about them basically, but they've just got that much depth in pretty much every position apart from strikers really, and they don't need that because they're scoring for fun from every position. Even Stones has been a bit of a revelation coming back. Yeah, people were talking at the start of the season about, does he need to go out on loan to like Everton or someone for 6 months and get a bit of form and get back into the team? You know, they're talking about him like he was old and past it, 24, 25, still in quite young lads, might be 26, I don't know. Yeah, I think they might make a fair few changes, but what are your thoughts on that one? Do you think Chelsea will get the job done? City are sort of on the beach with their feet up at the minute, waiting for the Champions League final?
There's nothing in it for City. It doesn't matter if they win, lose or draw, because it's irrelevant, because they're going to win one of their next 3-4 games. It really doesn't matter. So as you said, all the players you've just mentioned, a good shout with Aguero and Sterling. I think they'll play. Sterling very out of favour and not a natural goal scorer for the position that he's in. They'll play. I think Stones will play because Diaz will be rested. Laporte needs a bit more game time because he hasn't played a lot. Left and right back, I think Cancelo didn't play last night.
Didn't they?
He was on the bench, so I think he'll probably play. It'll just be a mix and match. I think Mahrez may play again because he hasn't played a lot in the league, so it'll just be a hit and miss. I'm sure De Bruyne. I think if he plays, it'll in the next few. He's got to play some game time, but play in the games where it means nothing. So he's not going to go diving in for a tackle. You want to be kid gloves for the next 2 or 3 weeks because he's the linchpin. I would just chill out on that and let Chelsea do what they want. They've got to play some players who are going to be in the final because they need top 4 and it's very close up there at the moment. So, but whoever City put out, they could still win. It's one of them. Liverpool, Southampton. After Southampton not doing very well at the moment, but neither Liverpool. What would you say with that one?
I think Southampton have been doing well for such a big chunk of the season, and then they went for a while without Danny Ings. I think he has scored a few times since he's come back from injury, but not quite as prolific, and they haven't been playing as well as the team. So you can say the same for Liverpool, really, though. Where are the goals coming from them at the minute? I think Salah still puts in a shift most of the time. I think Jota's been popping up mostly with a lot of the goals for them, but you look at players like Mane and Firmino, they're just not really...
No.
I don't think Firmino was ever really a goal scorer, but he's still... I hate when people refer to this basically the third pass in the goal as the pre-assist. He does do a lot of work in the build-up to goals, sort of dragging the defence about, making the little gaps for the wingers and the sort of other midfielders to come in. But I think maybe like a lot of other... I think when I say this, we usually say the professional footballers, we shouldn't really be saying, they're tired in the middle of a season, because they are athletes at the end of the day.
I don't buy that at all.
Yeah. I do think everyone might have suffered a bit from the overly condensed season, but you look at a player like Mane, he's just not really been at the races this year, and he's hitting 30-ish now, maybe. So maybe he's sort of had his peak in his late 20s, and he's sort of coming off a bit, and he's not cut out for playing at this level.
They're not playing every game. You've got Mane. If you look back, I don't know the stats, and some people are playing loads, but something like Mane, they're not playing twice a week. They're not playing, Sunday, Tuesday, Friday. No, they're not doing that. So they might play 3 in 2 weeks. You know, they're not going to be playing 4 in you know, they're not playing six games in 3 weeks or 8 games in 4 weeks. They're not doing that. You know, so that doesn't wash for me. I just think Mane, as you said, for the whole season, he's been poor. He's had a bad season, and he's their second goal scorer behind Salah. So I know there's loads of other factors with injuries and stuff like that. But yeah, if you can't put the ball in the back of the net, like you said with Sheffield United, I don't know who will win, because Southampton they've for their standards, a team that's normally floating around 7 or 8, they've lost quite a few against poor sides down the bottom. It's like Liverpool playing against their academy team, isn't it? It's their feeder club, Southampton. Yeah. So for me, it's a Liverpool win, and they need to win, because for them to get Champions League now, they've pretty much got to win most games, because you've even got Everton. If they win their game in hand, they can go above them if they beat West Ham on the weekend. We've got Wolves Brighton Sunday. Wolves or Brighton?
Another quite tough one to call, I think. Wolves are just suffering without Jimenez, and Jota really haven't got anyone that can score goals. I mean, you know, they've spent a lot of money on Fabio Silva, and there's that Willian Jose. Then they bought for a Brazilian chap from Real Sociedad. I think it took him about 10 or 11 games to score his first goal as well. So they're just, sort of lacking in striking options at the minute. I've been quite impressed with how Brighton have done against some of the bigger teams that I've watched, and sort of soaking up the pressure. And they do play quite nice football as well. They don't just sit behind the ball. They do try and spray it about a bit. Then I've quite enjoyed seeing Danny Welbeck slot into their team. I thought he often went very under the radar at Arsenal and quite heavily criticised unnecessarily sometimes. He's probably, you were looking for names of a striker that Sheffield United could have got that will get you 10 a season. Danny Welbeck. Yeah. He'll get you 10, 12 a season. You can stick him out on the left wing if you have to, and he'll do a job. He's going to get you a few assists. He's like 6'3", decent in the air. So yeah, I could see Bright. Is it at the Is it a Molineux or?
Yeah, it's at Molineux. You know, it's at Molineux, and you know, Brighton. It's Lakey's team, so that's kind of like made me have a look at them. Yeah. And exactly what you've just said. They're a good footballing side who haven't got any superstars. You know, they've got no big name players. Even you look at the Wolves, as you said, they've got Silva. Obviously, they've got a couple of injuries with Jimenez and a couple of people out. But yeah, they've got nobody that stands out, but they're a good side. Yeah. And obviously Wolves, they lost in there a couple of nights ago they drew with Villa, didn't they? They drew with Villa.
I think they drew with Villa, and they drew with West Brom as well, didn't they?
Yeah. So they were a couple of
Midland
derby draws. Yeah, that's it. It was they scored late on, didn't they, against the Baggies, I think.
I think there was 2 penalties and then 2 goals from open play, something weird like that.
Yeah, so it was, it's a close game. But yeah, I agree with you. It's I think Wolves have got more to play for than Brighton, because they want to be in the top 10. And then Villa at home to United. Who do you see winning there?
I think your boys are going to get 3 points there. At the start of the season, I would have backed Villa to maybe dig in and so maybe even nick a 1-0 or a 2-1, but I think they have struggled quite a lot without Grealish for so lot of. Is he still out injured? I imagine. I haven't heard any news on him coming back.
I think he played at some part of that game. I'm not 100%, but I think in the highlights I saw him playing.
Okay.
Again, not 100%, but I think. But when
if that's the case, though, that'll give them more of a chance, because he's just so important to their team. I think Andy said it when it's Andy, this the Villa fan that came on. Yeah, he said it himself. He's just so important in their midfield, and if you've got a player like that provides sort of 10 to 15 goals and then maybe another 15, 20 sometimes assists, that's a massive proportion of your goals in a season. You're going to miss that for 5-10 games. You're going to struggle. So I've been quite impressed with how Villa have done this year. They're probably, for me, as well as West Ham, been the 2 surprise packages of the Premier League, just how they've done. And I think they spent a fair bit of money over the transfer window, but it's been quite well invested, clearly, because the results have shown that. So just again, it shows the teams that have recruited well over the last summer in January, they've been the ones that have pushed on.
No, I agree. You know, they've got Ollie Watkins up front, Grealish. You know, when they played United in their last game, I can't remember if it was a cup match or it might have been in the league, but it was a close game. Grealish was all over the park. He kind of, you know, he pretty much run the show. And then it was another case of, you know, why haven't United bought him? Because he wasn't head and shoulders above everybody else in the park, but he was above. He was slightly different level. So if he's playing, it'd be great for the Villa. But United 3 points. They've nearly secured second place now. I think on the points you're looking at, where are we? Yeah, we're 4 points ahead of Leicester with the game in hand. So who do we say Leicester have got on the weekend?
Oh, they've got West Ham.
No, West Ham have got Everton.
Oh yeah.
Leicester aren't on there.
Team.
Leicester aren't on there. Maybe they're not.
They
playing.
Must.
No, they're not playing Monday. There's Fulham against.
I think they're playing you on Tuesday night. I think that's right.
So if they're playing us on Tuesday and we've got this game in hand, so we could be on 70 points by the time we play them. So even if we lose against them, we could still be 7 points clear. So it's nearly, fingers crossed, it's nearly done and dusted. So if we can beat the Villa, that's a crucial game. And then West Ham Everton, we've touched on that. For me, West Ham are the team of the season for the underdogs. Not in the top 6 financially or fan based, but they're there in 5th. 2 points ahead of Spurs, 4 points ahead of Liverpool, and Liverpool have got a game in hand, so they'll still be ahead of them. I think it's you mentioned just now they've recruited really well. So for me, West Ham, they should beat Everton at home. Any thoughts on that? I think Everton or West Ham?
I'd maybe say Everton at the minute. Only I think their form's been a bit patchy recently, but the games I've seen West Ham in recently, they have quite struggled. That Antonio's just come back, but they were without him for a few games. I think they were trying Jared Bowen up top. I think he's like a winger, but he has played as a striker for Hull before. But that Championship is completely different. Playing as a centre forward in the Premier League, like you said, mostly international centre backs and that. I think with both of those sides, it's just a case of who can dictate the pace of the ball and sort of getting behind. But I think West Ham's defence as well, they can probably hold up against Everton's more creative players if they can keep like Calvert-Lewin and Richarlison quiet. So not give Rodriguez the space to get those little 1-2s in behind and the little flick-ons. They'll sort of catch them on the counter. They've definitely got the pace going forward to hurt them.
Yeah.
And so with Antonio coming back, that brings your squad depth back then as well, doesn't it? So you have those names on the bench to bring on later in the game. I know Yarmolenko's got fierce left foot. I don't think he's been playing much, but in a game like that, he's a player that could come on, sort of get a goal late on or set something up. I'm going to be diplomatic and say it's going to be maybe a 1-1 or a 2-2 draw, but I'm not too sure how that one goes, to be honest with you.
I think West Ham, it'll be close, maybe a 1-0 or a 2-1. Arsenal West Brom then, we won't talk about the Monday night game because it's like Fulham Burnley, which is a kind of a shootout towards the bottom. But Arsenal West Brom,
we should be winning that, surely. Based on how poorly we do on Thursday night, will dictate who starts, I think. Probably the defence will be shuffled about quite a bit. Maybe seeing Nketiah start up top. I'm quite a big fan of Nketiah, but I just think his finishing, when he's in a bit of form and he's had a run of games, he doesn't take as long to get going. We're sort of getting the shots more on target and the sort of time he runs in behind. But he's young as well. That's the thing. He's had a few loans out. I think most recently last year when they won promotion, he was on loan at Leeds for half a season. Barely played him. So you can't get a run of form if you're not being played, can you?
Exactly.
I think games like this, though, for us at the minute, they're a really good opportunity for the young lads like Nketiah, Smith Rowe. I wouldn't call him a fringe player anymore, but Saka, even he massively stands out in matches like this. And it's just a case of how badly the defence plays because, Big Sam's always going to set his teams up to be able to absorb pressure. And West Brom have got players like Pereira that can cause us problems in behind. And
good player.
He's a very good player, definitely. Last year, especially, I think he got the most goals and assists collectively of any championship player. So clearly a Premier League standard player playing in a league below and stood out.
Big time.
Yeah, I think we should win fairly comfortably, but you don't want to underestimate West Brom because they are scrapping for their lives at the minute, aren't they? So.
Yeah, they've won some decent games. They've beaten Chelsea, Southampton. Should have beaten Wolves. You know, they were 1-0 up, and they scored close to the end. So no, it'll be interesting. But great. So you've been listening to Randolph and Martin Sports Talk. Next week, we'll, depending on the how the fight goes, we'll have a bit of a chunk on the Canelo Alvarez versus Billy Joe Saunders fight, the build up to it, and it's one of the fights of the year potentially, so we can have a good chat about that. We can also talk about City against Chelsea in the Champions League, a bit more in depth about that, because they'll be playing each other on the weekend. Pluses and minuses, a bit on the Premier League, and then anything else that you want to bring up that's going to happen in the next couple of weeks.
I was going to say there's not much MMA on the cards at the minute. The UFC card this weekend, about 4 or 5 of the fights on the main and the sort of undercard have fallen out, so it's looking a bit skeleton soup at the minute. They've bumped up like a 6th and 8th ranked women's strawweight fight to the main event now, so I don't think you got many eyes on it. But yeah, anything I see.
Yeah, we'll have a look.
Any cool knockouts, and that'll send it over. We can have a little chat about. But yeah, just mainly looking forward to Canelo and BJS at the weekend. I hope they agree on the ring size and manage to make the walk.
Well, the undercard is poor, so we'll pretty much only be talking. There's nothing else on there whatsoever, which is not very good, really. For a fight like that, you'd expect there to be at least one other world title fight of some sort, but it just looks poor. But yeah, no, that'll be interesting. But as I said, you've been listening to Randolph and Martin on Sportanarium. Up next, we've got, I think it's Adi, spinning some tunes on, and young Thomas in America, Thomas Bryce, he'll be on later on tonight, talking everything American, and the baseball, basketball, and American football, and whatever else he's going to be talking about in the States. And we will see you all next week. Thanks for listening. See you soon.
Cheers, guys.